Chapter 797. The lights in the city flickered, reflecting the stars in the sky. The divine city was high up in the sky and could not be seen from the ground. Inside the divine city, one would feel as if they were very close to the heavens. Gu Fei was traversing the streets of the city, following a slender figure in front of him. It was a woman dressed in a black dress. In the past few days, many cultivators had come to the divine city. These cultivators were the most outstanding descendants of the Zhou clan of the remote antiquity. The Zhou clan of the remote antiquity had returned to the southern wasteland and began to integrate the cultivation world of the southern wasteland. In the entire southern wasteland, more than half of the great sects had already surrendered to the Zhou clan of the remote antiquity, and became their peripheral forces. However, only a few of the direct disciples of the Zhou clan had appeared in the city. The black-clothed woman in front had a graceful figure. Her long hair was tied behind her head with a black hair, giving people a valiant and formidable-looking feeling. Could it be her? Gu Fei felt that the figure in front of him was very familiar. It seemed to be an old friend from the past. However, 300 years had passed, and Gu Fei found it hard to determine that this woman was the same person from the back. Gu Fei carefully followed behind the woman through the long streets. Then he turned left and right in the middle of the city and arrived in front of a courtyard in the south of the divine city. The woman didn't notice that someone was following her and walked straight into the courtyard. The divine city floating high in the sky wasn't very large, but it still covered a radius of a few dozen miles. There were thousands of large and small houses in the city. Traces of time could be seen everywhere in this ancient city. The courtyard wasn't very big. As Gu Fei approached the courtyard, he sensed an obscure aura. There was an expert overseeing the courtyard. Gu Fei didn't want to be discovered by the other party. With a thought, a vast amount of inner-world energy came out from his dantian and enveloped his body, isolating all the aura on his body. Gu Fei, who was enveloped by the power of the inner world, seemed to have jumped out of the three realms at this moment. He was no longer within the five elements, and had broken free from the shackles of the great heaven and earth. Unless it was an almighty being, no one would be able to sense his presence. Even the celestial being Realm's celestial emperor, and Shin King could not sense his presence. Gu Fei silently walked into the courtyard, came to the window, and stood there quietly. Inside the house, it was as bright as day, and there were people talking inside. "Master! Among the top 10 sects in the southern wasteland, 6 of them have already entered the city." A melodious voice came from the room. This is... As soon as the voice entered his ears, Gu Fei was stunned. It really was her. He would never forget this voice for the rest of his life. "It seems to be in the next few days." An old voice immediately sounded in the room. It was the voice of an old woman. "Li Mengyao, the one inside, is her master?" Gu Fei muttered to himself. He was not afraid that his voice would be heard. The power of heaven and earth inside isolated the void, and even sound was completely isolated. "Master, what is Zhou clan's intention in doing this?" Li Mingyao's voice sounded in the room. No wonder that figure was so familiar. It turned out to be her, Guangqing immortal sex Li Mingyao. Gu Fei found it hard to keep his calm. The woman inside was the woman he had an affair with. Gu Fei couldn't help but recall the scene in the valley inside the virtual sky world. Now that he thought about it, his face was still hot, and his breathing became a bit rapid. To some extent, Li Mengyao was his first woman. How was she in these 300 years? Gu Fei's heart was fluttering. He never thought that he would meet Li Mengyao, the woman he had a physical relationship with, in the divine city of Zhou clan. He also never thought that after meeting Li Mengyao again, his emotions would be a bit out of control. What was going on? He couldn't understand it himself. Sending the outstanding descendants of each sect to that place. "I'm afraid it's going to be a dangerous experience." The old voice sounded with a hint of worry. "What kind of place is that?" Li Mengyao asked in the room. Li Mingyao's master didn't answer immediately. She seemed to be thinking about something. After a while she said, "It's a lost world. A secret place that only opens once every 10,000 years." "A lost world?" Li Mengyao was surprised. According to the oldest records, it's an ancient world of desolation, a world before the desolate antiquity. It has a great secret. Li Mingyao's master seemed to know something. This? Li Mingyao was startled by her master's words. Entering that ancient world of desolation, if you're lucky, you'll have a great opportunity. If not, I'm afraid you'll die inside, your body and soul will be destroyed. Li Mingyao's master's words kept coming from the room. Ancient world of desolation. Gu Fei mumbled to himself. The other party couldn't hear his voice, but he could. Gu Fei stood outside the window, quietly listening to the conversation in the room. From the conversation between Li Mingyao and her master, Gu Fei knew some things about the ancient world of desolation. It turned out that when this ancient world of desolation appeared, no one knew. Even the ancient powers didn't know how long this lost world had existed for. It wasn't until a supreme being discovered the existence of this world that the ancient desolate faction knew of the existence of such an ancient world. Li Mingyao's master didn't know much either. She only knew that all the ancient powers had a way to enter and exit the ancient world of desolation. Moreover, there wasn't only one entrance to the ancient world of desolation. Other ancient powers could enter the ancient world of desolation from other entrances. The Zhou clan's ancient divine city that floated high in the sky had an entrance to the untainted ancient world. It was also because of this that the Zhou clan had gathered the outstanding descendants of the various sects in the southern wasteland in the divine city. In the end, when Du Fei realized that he couldn't get any more useful information from the conversation between Li Mengyao and her master, he quietly left. He didn't disturb Li Mengyao, nor did he want to meet her. His heart was empty, and he didn't know what to do at the moment. After returning to his residence, Gu Fei locked himself in his room, causing both Erebus and Little Qing to feel baffled. They had no idea what was going on. 3 days had passed. During these 3 days, the Prince of the Great Yan Wuliang, was still loitering around Gu Fei's residence. He hadn't given up on the idea of befriending Gu Fei and pulling Gu Fei under his command. However, Gu Fei didn't pay any attention to him. One morning, after inviting Gu Fei to the God City, Zhou Haoyang came to Gu Fei's residence. Chapter 798. In the endless territory of the southern wasteland, there were 10 great sects: the soaring celestial sect, the yin-yang sect, the solar sect, and so on. 6 of them had already submitted to the Zhou clan of the ancients, and became their external forces. Whoosh! Although Zhou Haoyang's cultivation was weak, he was able to prosper in the cultivation world. No one dared to look down on him because of the existence of a super-powerful force behind him. As for the other 4 sects, the Imperial Beast Villa, the Yin Ghost sect, the Myriad Beasts Alliance, and the Yin Yang sect, they had submitted to the 100 races of the southern wasteland. The strength of the 2 great sects could be said to be equal. Both sides had incomparably deep foundations, and no one could unify the southern wasteland. Originally, the southern wasteland was the world of the 100 races of the southern wasteland. However, with the strong return of the Zhou clan of the ancients, half of the southern wasteland fell into the hands of the Zhou clan. At this time, in the divine city above the 100,000 mountains, there were already hundreds of cultivators from the 6 great sects of the southern wasteland. As time passed, an obscure power began to fluctuate in the center of the divine city. This fluctuation became more and more intense. On the evening of the 3rd day, a dazzling divine light shot up from the center of the divine city. It pierced through the sky and a huge pitch-black hole appeared in the sky above the divine city. Rumble! The entire divine city began to shake. Divine runes began to appear on the ancient divine city. Some supreme cultivator had carved formation runes on the divine city. Tao power flowed on the runes, attracting the spiritual qi from all directions. The spiritual qi of heaven and earth within 1,000 miles frantically gathered towards the divine city. The hundreds of cultivators in the divine city were all indescribably shocked. Has it begun? Gu Fei, He Tian, Shao Qing, and Balan shot up into the sky and stood in the sky above the divine city. They looked up and felt an ancient aura that seemed to have come from the primordial era. It was coming from the expanding black hole in the sky. The divine light that shot out from the center of the divine city shattered the void and penetrated into the seemingly endless void, as if it was connected to the primordial era. The divine light that pierced through the heavens and the earth spread out from the center of the divine city. A huge pillar of light finally enveloped the entire divine city. Gu Fei and the others were also bathed in the divine light. Amidst the vast and auspicious energy, Gu Fei felt as though he was bathing in a spiritual spring that contained boundless spiritual energy. His entire body felt comfortable. Then, the divine city, which had gathered an endless amount of spiritual qi, began to move upwards. The huge black hole in the sky that enveloped the heavens and the earth produced a heaven-devouring force, causing the entire divine city to fly upwards. Witnessing this scene, Gu Fei couldn't help but be shocked. The Zhou clan of the desolate antiquity was truly generous. Could it be that they actually moved the entire divine city into the great antiquity world? Cries of surprise rang out from the divine city below. Many people soared into the sky and stood there, looking up at the pitch-black tunnel above their heads. The ancient aura of the great desolation grew stronger and stronger. It was as if they were truly approaching the great desolation aristocratic family. Swoosh! Divine light flickered and the void distorted. The divine city, which was bathed in divine light, as well as the hundreds of cultivators within it, all rushed into the black hole in the sky. All the divine light disappeared into the black hole. The black hole gradually closed up, and the shattered void automatically repaired itself. Finally, the black hole completely disappeared into the void, and the divine city in the sky was gone. After the divine city disappeared, a few figures rushed out from the 100,000 mountains and looked up at the sky. Soon, these figures disappeared from the sky above the mountains. It felt like countless years, but it also felt like an instant. Suddenly, Gu Fei felt his eyes light up, and then he found himself in a different world. Beside him, He Tian, Xiao Qin, and Balan were all looking around blankly. Near them, there were also more than 10 figures looking around. These were the immortal-level experts that had rushed into the sky above the divine city. Rumble! Suddenly, the void trembled. Below them, the void distorted and then shattered. Divine runes rushed out from the shattered void. An ancient city broke through the void, flew out, and floated below them. Gu Fei found that there were many buildings on the ground that resonated with the divine city in the sky. Perhaps this was why the divine city could break through the void and enter this world. What a dense spiritual energy! Gu Fei found that the spiritual energy in this world was so dense that it was almost comparable to the divine land in his Dantian. It was no wonder that in ancient times, all kinds of terrifying and powerful creatures were born. The people of the Avalon of 5 elements, and the extreme true demons were all ultimate experts. Perhaps these ultimate experts had clashed with each other back then. After a great battle, the sky fell and the earth cracked, shattering the boundless vast primitive world. This world was filled with the aura of the primitive world. Towering trees and towering mountains could be seen, and terrifying roars of wild beasts could be heard from the distance. The sky here was very clear, and there were colorful clouds floating in the sky. There was no sun, but it was very bright. It was unknown where the light in this world came from. Could it be that this was a world without night? Possessing eternal light? At this moment, a dark cloud suddenly rushed out from the mountain in the distance, and an extremely horrifying aura surged out. That is... After seeing it clearly, everyone was shocked. It wasn't a black cloud, it was a giant bird the size of a mountain. The huge bird soared through the sky, covering the entire sky. Its feathers were covered in a black luster, casting a huge shadow on the ground. Even Gu Fei couldn't help but be moved. This giant bird was too big, it was actually half the size of a divine city. Caw! With a cry, the 9 heavens trembled. Its wings flapped, and even the clouds on the horizon were dispersed. Moreover, the giant bird's speed was also extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, it had rushed to the sky above the divine city. This was simply like a black cloud covering the sky. The entire divine city darkened. Everyone in the city lost their heads out of fear, and some people continuously fled. The soaring baleful aura caused the several hundred outstanding descendants of the southern wasteland's great sects to almost collapse. This was an extremely powerful bird king. Whoosh! Its claws as big as a small mountain directly swiped down from the sky, courting death. At this time, an angry roar came from the divine city. A dazzling divine light rushed out from the city, and a powerful magical power surged like a volcano suddenly erupting. Whoosh! The divine light pierced through the void and directly cut the giant bird in half. Blood and feathers flew everywhere, and the giant bird's corpse fell from the sky. It was as if the sky was raining blood. There was indeed a peerless character from the Zhou clan of the ancients in the city. He actually killed a bird king that was comparable to an immortal in one move. Just what kind of world was this? As soon as they entered this world from the southern wasteland, they were attacked by a giant bird with the strength of an immortal. Chapter 799. Now all of you can go and explore this world of the primordial era. In this world, there are all sorts of ancient secrets. Whether you are fated or not will depend on your luck. Go! Here, every one of you will have the chance to ascend to the heavens in a single step. An ancient voice resounded in the Zhou clan's divine city. Every word was clearly heard by everyone. A mysterious transformation realm immortal king was transmitting his voice. Just now, when the giant bird attacked, it should have been the immortal king who killed it. Only a peerless immortal king could kill such a ferocious beast in an instant. Fate? Ascend to the heavens in a single step? All the cultivators in the divine city fell silent. Everyone's breathing quickened as they felt an incomparable pressure. Ascend to the heavens in a single step? What did this mean? Was this place connected to the legendary heavenly realm? Everyone was shocked. Breaking through the void and ascending to the heavens was the ultimate dream of every cultivator. However, ever since the great changes of the ancient era, immortals and mortals were separated. Even if someone cultivated to the immortal realm, the heavens and earth would no longer send down a heavenly tribulation. Even if you were extremely talented and invincible, it would be difficult to enter the legendary heavenly realm. You could only stay in the mortal world. After a brief silence, the entire divine city burst into an uproar. All the cultivators were excited. No one stayed still. Some people immediately rushed out of the divine city and into the world outside the city. Gu Fei, Shaoqing, Erebus, and Balon also felt their blood boiling. To think that they would encounter fate in the great desolate primordial world. This was something that no one had expected. It was hard to believe that the primordial world forces had such a great secret. Over the years, countless people had searched for a way to enter the heavenly realm. Everywhere in the Tinglong continent had been visited. Some peerless figures who cultivated to the immortal realm did not hesitate to enter the primordial forbidden grounds of the Tinglong continent in search of the path to the heavens. Some of them even fell in those ancient wastelands and never came out again. After the great changes of the world, there was only one way to enter the heaven realm, and that was the legendary heaven tower left behind by the Supreme Tao Ancestor. The sky connecting platform was in the hands of the primordial Tao sect. The primordial Tao sect was the inheritance of the Supreme Tao Ancestor. The sky connecting platform was the place where the Supreme Tao Ancestor comprehended the great Tao of heaven and earth. The heaven platform had all kinds of mysterious uses, but what made the cultivators in the world jealous was that this platform could connect to the heaven realm and transport people there. However, the sky connecting platform of the primordial Tao sect had long since disappeared. It was rumored that there had once been an almighty who had fought his way into the primordial Tao sect and snatched the sky connecting platform. Some said that the sky connecting platform had already been summoned back by the primordial Tao sect, while others said that the sky connecting platform had already been destroyed during the battle between the almighty and an ancestor of the primordial Tao sect. This was something that happened tens of thousands of years ago. No one knew what had happened. However, there was one thing that everyone knew. That was, the only holy object that could communicate with the heavenly realm had never appeared again. In other words, the only passageway between the human realm and the heavenly realm no longer existed. No one from the primordial Tao sect came out to explain. However, ever since the Almighty had fought his way into the primordial Tao sect, the primordial world that opened once every 10,000 years had become more important to the primordial world than any other ancient powers. Some people guessed that the primordial Tao sect might have really lost the holy object that the supreme Tao ancestor had left behind. Boom! At this moment, a boundless wave of Dharma power was emitted from the divine city. A terrifying figure rushed out of the divine city and disappeared from the world in an instant. That's a mysterious transformation realm immortal king! Even a mysterious transformation realm immortal king has been mobilized! In the divine city of heaven, some people who had been hesitating could no longer hold back. They all walked out of the divine city and rushed into the outside world. Boss, what should we do? Tian asked. Shao Qing and Balon calmed down and looked at the scene calmly. The primordial world was indeed worthy of its name. What they saw was simply a scene from the primordial world. The mountains here towered into the clouds. No one knew how long the trees here had been growing. Some of them were as tall as 200 or 300 yang. However, they had not developed intelligence and cultivated into tree demons. Huge vines even climbed from one mountain to another. In the distant forest, there were terrifying beasts roaming about. From time to time, loud beastly roars could be heard. The beasts here were not the ferocious beasts of the Tinglong continent. In the primordial world, most of the beasts that lived here were extremely powerful. The spiritual qi in the primordial world was abundant and could nurture powerful ancient beasts. Even though the beasts here were extremely powerful, they would not transform into human forms. These beasts were very terrifying. Even immortals would be in danger if they encountered them. Gu Fei pondered for a moment and said, "We will split into 2 groups. The 3 of you will go one way and I will go the other. Shao Qing has a boundary that I refined. If we encounter any danger, we can hide in the Hell Dao." When Gu Fei refined the Hell Dao's origin, he used the power of the Hell Dao's origin to create the 4 Paths world. Shao Qing had a boundary in her hand. Boss, safety first. Can you lend me and the old Kirin some of your 2 Daos realm men? Erebus asked. This guy was very jealous of the boundary in Shao Qing's hand. This thing was a life-saving treasure. No matter how strong the enemy was, as long as they hid in the Hell Dao, they would be fine. The Hell Dao was refined by the ancient Buddhist Lord. It was originally meant to be the Azura Hell and the 6 paths of reincarnation. Even if someone knew the location of the Hell Dao, no one could break into it. With Gu Fei's current cultivation base, even if he refined the source of the Hell Dao, he would not be able to take the Hell Dao into his body for the time being. The Hell Dao was comparable to a perfect world. Gu Fei was not strong enough to take a real world into his body. However, as the master of the Hell Dao, he could communicate with the source of the Hell Dao at any time and borrow its power. However, because he did not take the Hell Dao into his body, Gu Fei had to go through the boundary in order to enter the Hell Dao. Of the 4 boundaries, he had already given away 2. One was in Shao Qing's hand and the other was in the old turtle's hand. He still had 2 more on him. Gu Fei thought for a moment and flipped his hand. A palm-sized stone tablet appeared in his hand. All right, let's split up. Gu Fei threw the stone tablet to Tian and said. At this time, most of the cultivators in the divine city had already entered the ancient world of chaos. Thank you, boss. Tian reached out and caught the stone tablet. He was overjoyed. With this stone tablet, he would have an extra layer of protection in the ancient world of chaos. Chapter 800. All the major powers of the ancient desolation had a way to enter the ancient desolation world. The number of people who entered the ancient desolation world was definitely not limited to just the few hundred cultivators from the southern desolation Zhou clan. The divine city floated high in the sky, and there were ancient buildings below it. There was an unfathomable power connecting the 2 sides. There seemed to be an ancient altar on the ground below, but Gu Fei didn't pay much attention to it. At this time, there were figures flashing everywhere outside the divine city. Gu Fei, Little Qing, He Tian, and Balon separated and rushed into an endless mountain range. The ancient mountain range was filled with towering trees and old vines. Many places were emitting a fierce aura, and there were strange beasts roaming about. Just as Gu Fei entered the mountain range, a miserable scream of despair came from the front. Some cultivators had encountered the strange beasts in the mountain range and were killed. Eh? Gu Fei couldn't help but be startled. He used the 8 desolate steps and sped up. After turning around a mountain peak, a lake dozens of acres wide appeared in front of him. Gu Fei just happened to see a huge figure disappearing into the lake. What is that? Gu Fei stopped. There was a strange beast hiding in the lake ahead, and there was a 5-colored lotus growing in the middle of the lake. A faint fragrance wafted from the front, making people feel relaxed and happy. However, there was a trace of blood lingering in the air. Gu Fei couldn't help but frown. There were still traces of blood on the surface of the water near the 5-colored lotus that hadn't been washed away by the lake water. It was obvious that some cultivators had discovered the 5-colored celestial lotus in the lake and wanted to pluck it. However, they were killed by the strange beast lurking in the lake and became its food. The lotus had a 5-colored light lingering around it. It was very extraordinary. It was a rare spiritual plant in the world. Such a divine plant was not easy to pick. The strange beasts in the world would also be attracted by this spiritual plant and would guard it, not allowing other cultivators or fierce beasts to come close. The 5-colored lotus was definitely a rare divine plant for cultivators, especially those who were near the end of their lifespan or those who were seriously injured. However, to Gu Fei, this celestial lotus could only be regarded as an ordinary divine treasure. He even had the divine spring of life, which was much more precious than any divine treasure. Beside the divine spring of life, there was a peerless divine plant. Gu Fei's cultivation resources were probably even more valuable than those of the ancient desolation powers. However, since he had encountered it, it wouldn't be good to leave empty-handed. Gu Fei was about to enter the small lake in front of him and take away the 5-colored immortal lotus. Although he didn't know what kind of strange beast was lurking at the bottom of the lake, he didn't feel any danger. In other words, the strange beast in the lake didn't pose any threat to him. Just as Gu Fei was about to take action, an air-piercing sound came from the distance. Gu Fei immediately stopped and flew down from the sky, landing in the forest beside the lake. Swish! A sword light descended from the sky. Amidst the flickering sword light, a figure like a fairy from the 9 heavens landed on a big rock beside the lake. 5-colored lotus? Seeing the 5-colored lotus in the lake, the person couldn't help but exclaim in a low voice. She was very happy, but she didn't directly rush forward to pick the lotus. Why is it her? Gu Fei, who was hiding in the forest not far away, couldn't help but be startled when he saw this person. It was a beautiful woman in black with her long hair tied behind her head. This woman was none other than Guangqing's junior sister, Li Mengyao. The Guangqing celestial sect had already submitted to the Zhou clan of the Desolation Antiquity. The Zhou clan had opened the ancient Desolation world and gathered the outstanding figures of the various sections. Li Mengyao was one of the outstanding figures sent by the Guangqing celestial sect. Gu Fei had seen Li Mengyao from afar in the Zhou clan's divine city. He knew that 3 acquaintances had come from the Guangqing celestial sect. One was Lu Yunhe, who had sent a flying sword message to invite him here. The other was Guangqing's eldest senior brother, Ren Wuming. The third was Li Mengyao, who he had a romantic relationship with. For this trip to the ancient Desolation world, the Zhou clan had not only sent peerless characters of the immortal king level, but even the various sects had sent old monsters. These people were all here to try their luck. There was no cultivator who didn't want to reach the heavens in a single step and enter a wider world to continue cultivating. The heavenly realm was that legendary world. Swish! At this time, another ray of light flew over from afar. Amidst the resplendent golden divine light, a thin figure was wrapped in it. That person landed on the other side of the lake and floated in the air. She stared at the 5-colored lotus in the lake with undisguised greed in her eyes. Little girl from the Guangqing celestial sect, if you know what's good for you, get lost. This divine lotus is mine! That person was a barefooted kid wearing a short green robe and a red tutu. He had a braid on his head. Although he was just a little kid, his tone was frightening. He actually told Li Mengyao to get lost as soon as he arrived, without giving her any leeway. Blissful boy, you're too much. Others might be afraid of you, but I, Li Mengyao, am not. Li Mengyao's body was filled with sword energy, and sword light was flickering on her body. She knew the opponent's background, so she didn't dare to be careless. She quickly circulated the sword energy in her body and was on high alert, ready to attack at any time. This blissful boy was a ruthless character in the Yin-Yang sect. Although he looked like a kid, he was an old monster. Since you refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit, then I won't be polite. The blissful boy grinned and rushed over the surface of the lake. Wow! At this time, there was a sound of water splashing, and the originally calm lake suddenly burst out with a huge, malevolent beast head, its bloody mouth wide open. It opened its bloody mouth and bit towards the blissful boy who was above the lake. Die, evil beast! The blissful boy did not panic. He shouted, and 2 bronze rings, one black and one white, flew out from his hands. The power of Yin and Yang spread out from the Yin and Yang bronze rings. The bronze rings quickly enlarged and went towards the head of the strange beast that suddenly rushed out from the lake. Swish! The strange beast seemed to know the power of the Yin and Yang bronze rings. It dodged to the side and avoided the attack on its head. Then, its thick body directly hit the Yin and Yang bronze rings and wrapped around the blissful boy. Gu Fei, who was hiding in the forest beside the lake, saw clearly that the strange beast that rushed out from the lake was actually a flood dragon. This flood dragon was black with a layer of black light flowing on its scales. There were dragon horns on its head. If it had claws under its abdomen, it would simply be a black dragon. The Yin and Yang bronze rings hit the black flood dragon's scales and made a clanging sound. It was like hitting a divine iron, and it couldn't hurt the flood dragon at all. The blissful boy was shocked. He withdrew the Yin and Yang bronze rings and wanted to retreat. This black flood dragon's body was extremely strong, and he couldn't let it get close to him. Chapter 801. Shua! The flood dragon emerged from the water and soared 1,000 zhang into the air. A bitter baleful aura soared into the heavens, making one's heart palpitate. This was definitely a terrifying demonic beast. Who knew how many living beings it had slaughtered in order to form such a horrifying baleful aura? When Li Mengyao saw this, her expression couldn't help but change. She didn't think that there would be such a flood dragon hiding in the lake. This flood dragon had probably already matured and was about to transform into a dragon. Roar! The black flood dragon roared, the mountains shook, the lake water swept up high into the sky, and the entire lake's surface raised a huge wave. The 5-colored celestial lotus was already in the center of the lake, breathing in and out spiritual energy, unmoving like a mountain. Such a mystical celestial lotus made Li Mengyao's eyes light up. This kind of mystical celestial lotus, if refined into a godly pellet, it might be able to help her break through the shackles of her current training. Even the boy of bliss, who was invincible in the mortal realm, was sent soaring into the sky by the black flood dragon, dodging it. The black flood dragon that broke out of the lake was about 300 to 400 zhang long, and its body was covered in a layer of black light, exuding an intense baleful aura. Damn it! The boy of bliss roared in anger and attacked with the Yin and Yang copper rings once again. The Yang rings emitted a brilliant white light and gathered the chi of heaven and earth, turning into a divine halo that spun and slashed at the black flood dragon. The Yin bracelet was filled with Yin power. It raised a monstrous black aura and smashed down on the black flood dragon. The boy of bliss was a 9th heavenly layer saint, a peerless expert in the mortal world. He was only a step away from transforming his mortal body and becoming a true immortal. His strength was not to be underestimated. In the Tinglong continent, ever since the forces of the remote antiquity returned and the immortals and gods returned to the mortal world, the cultivation world had gradually been divided into 2 different levels of cultivators. Below the immortal gods were the mortal realm cultivators, and above the immortal gods were the heaven realm immortals. This was the difference between mortals and immortals. Even if a mortal realm cultivator was invincible in the mortal realm, it would still be difficult for him to match a heaven realm immortal god. The blissful boy also wanted this 5-colored celestial lotus. If he refined it into a divine pill, he might be able to become an immortal in one step. He was determined to obtain the 5-colored celestial lotus. Boy Blissful attacked with all his might. The power of yin and yang shook the void. The yang ring split the heaven and earth like a supreme divine weapon, slashing the black dragon. The yin hook, however, was as heavy as a mountain as it smashed down on the black flood dragon's head. The power of yin and yang was actually used by him in such a way, displaying a different kind of power. Who? Facing the blissful boy's attack, the black flood dragon opened its mouth and spat out a mouthful of cold air. Instantly, the cold wind howled and the blissful boy was frozen in an instant. The breath of cold air that the black flood dragon spat out caused the temperature of the world to plummet, and the surface of the lake instantly froze. Li Mengyao, who was standing on the big rock beside the lake, felt that the blood in her body was about to freeze. She couldn't help but be shocked. Without a second thought, she shot up into the sky and retreated into the distance. At that moment, the black flood dragon had already swung its tail and swept the yang ring away. The black flood dragon's scales were as hard as divine metal. This black flood dragon! Gu Fei was also surprised to see this scene. This black flood dragon seemed to have developed its spiritual intelligence, and was even more cunning and vicious than a human. In the battle with the blissful boy, this black flood dragon had actually hidden its strength. Now that it spat out a mouthful of cold air, it actually froze the heaven and earth. The cold air spread out in all directions, and with the lake as the center, the area within a radius of several li was instantly turned into a world of ice and snow. This black flood dragon definitely had the strength of a heaven rank, or above. No wonder the blissful boy was instantly frozen into a block of ice by the black flood dragon's cold air. Human rank and heaven rank were two insurmountable levels of cultivation, and they could not be compared at all. For thousands of years, no one had ever heard of a human rank cultivator being able to hunt down an immortal god in the sky. There were 5 realms in human rank and 5 realms in heaven rank. This black flood dragon should be a first or second heaven of immortal god realm demon. At the periphery of this ancient mountain range, they had already met a flood dragon of first or second heaven of immortal god realm. How many demons above the immortal god realm were there in this untainted primordial world? Gu Fei felt a chill in his heart as he thought about it. He felt uneasy. In this untainted primordial world, there might be some powerful demons of the demon clan. Roar! The black flood dragon that was leaping in the sky roared and swung its tail, smashing the blissful boy into pieces. The blissful boy who was trapped in the ice was instantly destroyed, his body and soul destroyed. Even the yin ring in the blissful boy's hand was shattered. An invincible mortal rank expert was killed in just 2 moves. This was the difference between a mortal and an immortal. One was in the sky, while the other was on the ground. The black flood dragon roared in a low voice. After killing the blissful boy, it fixed its eyes on Li Mengyao, who had retreated to the sky. It was about to chase after Li Mengyao. At this moment, Li Mengyao saw how powerful the black flood dragon was. She felt a chill run down her spine, and she was sweating profusely. If she had tried to pluck the 5-colored lotus, she would have ended up like the blissful boy. However, just as the black arm was about to charge forward to kill Li Mengyao, a bright light shot out from the forest beside the lake. Swoosh! The divine light flashed and disappeared into the void. The black flood dragon's movement suddenly stopped, as if someone had cast a spell on it and fixed it in the sky. Then, the black flood dragon's ferocious head fell to the ground. The flood dragon's blood spurted out and fell from the sky. The flood dragon's corpse fell from the sky and smashed into the frozen lake, cracking the surface of the lake. Li Mengyao was stunned by the scene in front of her. She was about to run away, but something unbelievable happened. That ferocious and terrifying flood dragon had actually been beheaded. Did a heaven rank cultivator make a move? There were 5 cultivation realms in the heaven rank, and the immortal god realm was the lowest among the 5 realms. To kill this flood dragon in a second, only an expert in the immortal god realm could do it. Li Mengyao was speechless for a long time. She stood in the sky blankly for a long time before she came back to her senses. She looked around, but there was no one, and she could not sense any human cultivator's aura. Who is the senior who saved me? I am very grateful. Could you please come out and meet me? Li Mengyao said loudly. However, no one came out. There was only her own echo in the surroundings. Swoosh! She rode on the sword light and rushed back from the sky, landing on the lake. The 5-colored celestial lotus in the lake was still absorbing the heaven and earth's spiritual qi. The lake around the celestial lotus was not frozen. Li Mengyao shouted a few times, but no one responded. Finally, she walked towards the 5-colored celestial lotus and carefully plucked it. Chapter 802. The ancient desolate world was vast and boundless. It was a scene of desolate antiquity. Rumble! A huge mountain suddenly collapsed, and as the earth cracked, a giant tortoise the size of a mountain crawled out of the collapsed mountain. Gu Fei hid on a small mountain far away. When he saw this shocking scene, he couldn't help but be dumbfounded. The ancient desolate beast in front of him was truly terrifying. That gigantic tortoise had been in slumber for who knew how long. Its body was covered in mud and rocks, and there were even towering ancient trees growing on it. Roar! Just at this moment, an earth-shattering roar came from the depths of this region. The mountains trembled, and an extremely terrifying baleful aura surged out from the depths of the mountain range. The tortoise suddenly sped up and charged into the depths of the mountain range. Following that, a terrifying roar came from the depths of the mountain range. The ancient desolate tortoise and the other ancient desolate beast began to fight. The terrifying aura of the ancient desolate beast caused all living beings to tremble. Even Gu Fei felt danger. The entire mountain range shook violently. In the depths of the mountain range, more and more mountains crumbled, causing dust to rise high into the sky. Gu Fei was secretly shocked. Even the celestial realm immortal Shen King would be affected by this ancient desolate beast. He retreated, not daring to go any deeper. If he went any deeper, even with the protection of the extreme Dao Saint tool, he would still be in danger. Only after retreating for 1,000 miles did Gu Fei no longer feel the terrifying aura of the 2 ancient desolate beasts. Only then did he heave a sigh of relief. Gu Fei stopped on a cliff. Only now did he realize that he had made a grave mistake. He didn't have a map of the ancient desolate world. The ancient desolate powers would open the ancient desolate world once every 10,000 years. They would enter this ancient world in search of fate, hoping to reach the heavens in a single step. Over the countless years, the ancient desolate world had opened no less than 10 times. The various ancient desolate powers definitely had a map of the ancient desolate world. After hundreds of thousands of years, even though the various ancient desolate clans had yet to fully understand the ancient desolate world, they had still explored many places. Although the various factions of the ancient desolate era had incomplete maps, it was still better than wandering blindly in this world. Damn Lu Yunhe, damn Zhou Haoyang! Gu Fei cursed in his heart. These 2 bastards definitely did it on purpose. Gu Fei recalled Lu Yunhe and Zhou Haoyang's sinister intentions. Right at that moment, an extremely faint smell of blood wafted into Gu Fei's nose. Gu Fei was already an immortal-level martial immortal. Thus, his senses were incredibly sensitive. On the path of martial arts, one's body was the foundation. Cultivating one's blood, qi, and fate, unearthing the source of one's body. Every time one broke through a cultivation realm, Gu Fei's hearing, vision, smell, strength, all the abilities related to the martial body would improve. The smell of blood in the air was too faint. If it was an ordinary immortal, they probably wouldn't be able to smell it. However, Gu Fei could. The smell of blood came from the bottom of the cliff. Soon, Gu Fei identified the source of the smell of blood. Without hesitation, he directly jumped off the cliff. The cliff was thousands of feet high. Gu Fei was like a meteorite, falling from the sky. The ground rapidly approached Gu Fei, and the sound of wind whistled in his ears. Bam! Dust flew everywhere. The ground within a radius of thousands of feet exploded. A huge pit appeared on the ground, and the earth shook. Gu Fei directly withstood the powerful force of falling from thousands of feet high with his body. With his current martial body, it was enough to withstand a sacred weapon refined by an almighty. This degree of impact could no longer cause any impact to Gu Fei. He walked out of the pit, and saw that the bottom of the cliff was filled with rocks and old vines. The smell of blood was even stronger. That is, at the bottom of the cliff, Gu Fei found a cave. The smell of blood came from the cave. The entrance of the cave was thousands of feet high and tens of feet wide. Countless vines were scattered around the cave entrance. Those vines seemed to have been cut by a sharp weapon. Each vine was less than 3 feet long and scattered on the ground. Clearly, the cave entrance was originally blocked by countless vines, but it was still discovered by someone. Furthermore, the vines at the cave entrance were cleared away, and they entered the cave. Gu Fei came to the cave entrance and looked inside. It was pitch black inside. Even with Gu Fei's cultivation, he couldn't see the end. Gu Fei didn't dare to be careless. He used his inner heavenly energy to isolate all the aura on his body. Then, he used the power of the mountain and river cauldron to protect himself. Only then did he enter the cave. The shadow of an ancient cauldron appeared around him. It could be said that this was already Gu Fei's strongest defense. Even if the celestial being realm immortal Shen King suddenly attacked him, he would be able to block the opponent's full strength. Walking in this ancient cave, although it was pitch black all around, Gu Fei's vision could see through the darkness. Everything around him was clear. As he walked deeper, Gu Fei gradually sensed an aura coming from the depths of the ancient cave. The smell of blood was so strong that it was pungent. The ancient cave was very dry. Apart from the outer several hundred feet, further in, there were traces of man-made excavation. Gu Fei discovered that the ancient cave extended underground. He estimated that he had already entered thousands of feet deep into the ground. Suddenly, Gu Fei noticed that there was a figure lying on the ground in front of him. The pungent smell of blood came from that person's body. When Gu Fei came closer, he discovered that it was a broken corpse. The surroundings of the corpse were splattered with bright red blood. The surrounding blood seemed to have not completely solidified. This person had definitely died less than 24 hours ago. There was danger in the cave. Gu Fei immediately swept his gaze towards the depths of the dark ancient cave. Vaguely, he seemed to see something flash and disappear. There really is something in the cave! Gu Fei sensed a very heavy aura of death quickly disappearing. This caused his heart to shiver. After confirming that there was no danger in the surroundings, Gu Fei carefully looked at the broken corpse on the ground. He saw that the corpse's face was already covered in blood, and it was impossible to distinguish its appearance. Moreover, the top of the corpse's skull was split open. It seemed that something had forcibly lifted the top of the skull and sucked out the cultivator's brain. The corpse's clothes were tattered, but one could still vaguely see that it was a Taoist robe. This was because the clothes were soaked in blood, and there was a broken Tai Chi yin-yang diagram. In this cultivator's hand, there was still a broken sword. The sword light flickered, and the sword chi was sharp. There was no trace of blood on the sword. It was a divine weapon that killed without spilling blood. Chapter 803. Swoosh! 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 3 divine rainbows flew over from the horizon, streaked across the void, and directly landed at the bottom of a cliff in the middle of the mountain. The vast sword chi was boundless between heaven and earth. 3 figures in Taoist robes descended from the sky and landed in front of a pitch-black cave under the cliff. The dazzling sword light quickly faded away. The leader was a white-haired old Taoist with fluttering sleeves. Behind him was a middle-aged Taoist with a black beard and a young Taoist with delicate features. "Is this the place?" The old man's eyes flashed, and his body was surrounded by a faint divine light. He looked at the cave entrance, and said in a hoarse voice, "Yes, Grand Master." The middle-aged Taoist answered respectfully, "This is the place where junior brother Yuqing sent the distress signal." The young Taoist said, "Let's go in and take a look," the old man said, and walked into the cave ahead. The middle-aged Taoist and the young Taoist followed closely behind. Mysterious transformation realm immortal king? At this moment, Gu Fei, who was in the cave, sensed 3 powerful auras appearing outside the cave. One of the auras even made him feel a great pressure. Only the auras of immortal kings and deity kings could make Gu Fei feel pressured. If the celestial realm immortal Shen King came, Gu Fei would have no choice but to retreat. Gu Fei could fight against mysterious transformation realm immortal kings and deity kings. But if the celestial realm immortal Shen King came, then there was no need for him to do anything. A celestial realm immortal could attract the power of heaven and earth, and was like the embodiment of heaven and earth. Facing a celestial realm immortal was like facing the heaven and earth. Against such an existence, Gu Fei had no chance of winning. Even if he used the extreme path sacred weapon, it could be forcibly taken away by the other party's supreme power. At this time, the people outside the cave had already entered and were quickly moving towards the depths of the cave. Gu Fei decisively rushed into the depths of the cave. He did not want to face the 2 immortal gods and the immortal king outside, so he had to find a place to hide. Gu Fei had the power of the inner world to seal his body. It was as if he had jumped out of the 3 realms and was no longer part of the 5 elements. It was as if he was no longer a person of this world. No one could sense his existence. Just as Gu Fei disappeared into the depths of Dong Shui, a bright light shone from behind. A cold sword chi appeared in the middle of the cave, and a powerful aura surged in from the outside. 3 figures with dazzling sword lights all over their bodies quickly walked in from outside. "This is..." The old man, the middle-aged Taoist priest, and the young Taoist priest noticed the broken corpse on the ground and listened beside the corpse. "It's junior apprentice brother Yuqing, his sword," the young Taoist priest said in shock. He recognized the corpse on the ground. "Preposterous! You actually dared to kill the people of my archaic Tao sect. You deserve to die," the old man said in a low voice. "Archaic Tao sect?" In the depths of the cave, Gu Fei was hidden in the darkness. When he heard the old Taoist priest's words, he could not help but be shocked. The people who had come were from the archaic Tao sect. The archaic Tao sect was like the Zhou clan of the ancients. They were both primordial powers that had existed for countless years. Moreover, the archaic Tao sect's history was even longer than the 4 great clans of the ancients. The archaic Tao sect was said to be the orthodoxy passed down by the invincible supreme Taoist ancestor of the primordial era. It was the most orthodox sect in the world. The old Taoist priest and the 2 immortal gods from the archaic Tao sect did not stay for long. The old man waved his sleeve, and a gentle breeze blew past. The broken corpse on the ground turned to dust and disappeared into the void. Whoosh! 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 The old man and the 2 immortal gods released sword lights to cover their bodies and flew into the depths of Dong Shui without any concealment. The horrifying sword chi surged in the middle of the cave. In the depths of the cave, there was a ghost-like shadow that flashed and disappeared, as if it had been scared away. A mysterious transformation realm immortal king naturally had the arrogance of an immortal king. He had no scruples. The deeper Dong Shui went, the more spacious it became. After 3 sword lights flew past, he walked out of a dark corner and followed behind the people from the archaic Tao sect. He would not take the lead for those guys. It was better to let the immortal king and his 2 subordinates take the lead. Along the way, Gu Fei found no less than a dozen corpses that had died miserably. Some of the corpses were only left with a pool of blood. Some people seemed to have been dead for several days, and their corpses were smelly. Some people seemed to have been killed recently, and the blood on their corpses had yet to coagulate. Gu Fei realized that the people from the archaic Tao sect were not the only ones who had found this place. It seemed that there were others who had found this place as well. However, all of them had died without exception. They had been killed by some unknown ferocious creature. Gu Fei could not help but feel a little uneasy when he saw this scene. Then, white bones began to appear in the Dong Shui. At first, there were only a few, but later on, the ground was covered with white bones. Could it be that this Dong Shui leads to the core of the great desolation ancient world? Gu Fei was very shocked. The tragic aura coming from the front was getting stronger and stronger. It seemed that countless creatures had entered this place before, but they had all died, and their bodies had all turned into white bones. Boom! He did not know how far underground he had gone. Suddenly, a loud sound came from the front. Then, an extremely tragic and murderous aura came from the front. It was as if a terrifying demon had been startled. Rumble! The entire underground world shook. Resplendent sword lights exploded from the front. An angry roar could be heard. The immortal king from the archaic Tao sect was fighting with something. The Dong Shui that was deep underground was extremely vast. It was a huge space. Moreover, the ground of this space was covered with white bones. Countless creatures had fallen here. There was definitely something extremely ferocious here. Otherwise, all the creatures that had intruded into this place wouldn't have been reduced to a ghastly pile of white bones. Gu Fei moved forward stealthily. Soon, he was shocked by the scene in front of him. He saw that the immortal king from the archaic Tao sect was fighting with a monster that was more than 3 feet tall and covered with green skin. Not far away, there were 2 bloody corpses on the ground. Among the 3 of them, only the old Taoist was fighting with the monster. The young Taoist retreated to the side and watched the battle nervously. The middle-aged Taoist had disappeared. Needless to say, the 2 corpses on the ground were the middle-aged Taoist. The celestial king of the primordial Tao sect spat out a celestial king's sword and slashed at the green monster. Sword she soared into the sky, shaking the heavens and the earth. The sword light cut through the void as if it was indestructible. Swoosh! One of the green monster's arms was swept by the sword light of the celestial king's sword and immediately fell off. It had been cut off by the celestial king's sword. A dark green liquid gushed out from the monster's severed arm. The dark green liquid dripped on the ground, causing sizzling sounds. Black smoke rose up, and the ground was corroded by the black liquid. Although the green monster's murderous aura was strong, and its strength was comparable to that of an immortal king, it was still a ferocious creature. How could it be a match for the immortal king from the archaic Tao sect? There was no longer any suspense in this battle. Chapter 804. Shwa! Wherever the sword light passed, the green monster's head fell off. Dark green blood splattered everywhere, and the corpse fell to the ground with a dull thud. The profound transformation realm immortal king from the primeval Tao sect killed the ferocious creature that was comparable to an immortal king with ease. The sword light returned to the old Taoist's body, and the old Taoist's body also emitted a dazzling sword light. He and the sword became one, and the old Taoist seemed to have turned into a human-shaped sword. The sword light on the old Taoist's body illuminated the entire cave. It was unknown how long this ancient cave had existed. The inside of the cave was pure white, and it was unknown how many creatures had died here. The evil monster, which was comparable to an immortal king, should not have been able to kill all the creatures that entered the cave. There were other terrifying existences in the cave. Gu Fei carefully hid behind a pile of white bones that was several feet high. He used the power of the inner world to seal his body. Even an immortal king of the profound transformation realm would not be able to detect his presence. It's a heavenly gate! How is this possible? On the ancient stone door on the wall ahead, there were 2 ancient words. The immortal king from the archaic Tao sect exclaimed. Even though he had lived for countless years, he could not help but be excited and could not calm down. All the powers of the ancient desolate era were desperately trying to enter the ancient desolate world. Why? Wasn't it to find a way to enter the heavenly realm? Grandmaster, is this true? Did we encounter fate? The young cultivator was also shocked. He could not believe what he had just heard. I don't know. The old Taoist quickly calmed down. As an existence of his level, what had he not seen? Even though there was an ancient heavenly gate in front of him, the old Taoist quickly regained his composure. After the old Taoist killed the evil green monster, a trace of black gas appeared in the huge cave. The temperature in the cave gradually dropped. What's going on? Gu Fei was secretly alarmed. The surrounding dark gray fog was seeping out from the ground. Strand by strand, like silk threads, it unexpectedly condensed in the void and did not dissipate. The inner world energy kept the black silk like mist away from Gu Fei's body, not allowing the evil silks to get close to him. Those evil threads quietly wrapped around the young Taoist priest's right arm. The young Taoist priest, who was still in a daze, was completely unaware of it. Those evil threads seemed to have a life of their own as they silently entangled the old Taoist and the young Taoist who were standing in front of the stone gate. Be careful! As expected of an immortal king of the mysterious transformation realm, the old Taoist instantly sensed the abnormality in his surroundings. Rays of divine light rushed out of his body and destroyed all the black threads that were entangling him. However, it was already too late. The young Taoist priest's cultivation couldn't be compared to the old Taoist priest's. Those evil threads directly penetrated the young Taoist priest's protective sword light and wrapped around his arm. Ah! A mournful scream resounded in the air. The young Taoist priest's right arm that was entangled by the black threads fell to the ground. The black threads instantly severed his arm from the shoulder. No blood splashed out from the wound. Instead, it seemed to be scorched and emitted black smoke. The black smoke directly drilled into the young Taoist priest's body. Master Ancestor, save me! The young Taoist priest was scared out of his wits. He endured the pain of losing his arm and staggered towards the old Taoist priest. In the blink of an eye, the young Taoist priest's face was shrouded by a layer of black qi. Those black threads seemed to have the evil power to devour the blood of cultivators. Even though he was far away, Gu Fei could already sense that the young Taoist priest's aura was rapidly weakening. This, Gu Fei couldn't help but be aghast. Moreover, he also discovered that the young Taoist priest's severed arm that fell to the ground was shrinking and shriveling. In the end, even the skin on the arm had melted away. The severed arm had turned into a skeleton. Seeing this scene, even Gu Fei couldn't help but be alarmed. This was simply an ominous place. The evil threads seemed to have a life of their own as they entangled the young Taoist priest. Buzz! The immortal king's sword vibrated and a resplendent sword light flashed. The old Taoist priest made his move. He separated a sword light and wrapped it around the young Taoist priest. He couldn't just watch the young Taoist priest die like this. The attack of an immortal king was extraordinary. Countless evil threads shattered. The evil threads within 100 zhang radius were all blocked by the sword light and couldn't get close to the young Taoist priest. Master Ancestor! The young Taoist priest fell to the ground and uttered only 2 words. Then, the skin on his body dissipated in the void like ice and snow, and turned into white bones in an instant. Roar! The old Taoist priest roared towards the sky. The entire cave shook. He had underestimated the evil threads in the cave. These evil threads could even kill an immortal god in an instant. Gu Fei hid in the distance, and couldn't help but be frightened when he saw this scene. He used the power of the inner world to seal the void around him, not daring to let a single evil thread approach him. The unlucky young Taoist priest only had one arm cut off by the evil threads. However, the evil power of the evil threads had turned him into a skeleton. At this time, Gu Fei finally understood why there were so many white bones in the cave, but not a single bloody body could be preserved. The evil power here could actually corrode the blood of living beings. Even the blood of an immortal god could be corroded in an instant. Those who could find this place were definitely not ordinary people. The white bones on the ground were mostly sparkling like divine jade. They were not ordinary bones, but the bones of gods. One could imagine that all the immortals who entered here had fallen. Gu Fei realized that the evil threads that were everywhere in the cave seemed to be able to sense the aura of cultivators. They only gathered towards the old Taoist priest from the archaic Tao sect and didn't fly towards him. Perhaps it was because the power of the inner world had isolated his aura, so the evil threads couldn't sense his existence. Gu Fei's thoughts raced. When he thought of this, he didn't dare to act rashly. There was definitely a vicious creature hiding in the cave. He didn't dare to be careless. The vicious creature hiding in the cave seemed to be able to control the black evil threads that were everywhere in the cave. The Taoist priest from the archaic Tao sect seemed to have noticed this as well. He immediately made his move and slashed the ground with his celestial king's sword. Shwa! The countless white bones on the ground instantly turned to dust under the sword light. Wherever the sword light passed, a crack that was hundreds of feet long appeared on the ground. The entire cave was shaken by the mighty sword shi of the celestial king's sword. It seemed like it was about to collapse. Cracks that looked like spider webs appeared on the ground. Roar! 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 Several terrifying roars sounded from the ground. Then, a grayish-black evil aura surged out from the ground and 3 terrifying figures appeared in the cave. This is... Gu Fei looked at this scene in shock. He was shocked to find that the 3 terrifying figures didn't have any aura of life, nor did they have any physical bodies. They were faint and illusory shadows. There were also no soul fluctuations. They weren't in spirits or malicious ghosts. What are these things? Gu Fei couldn't help but feel a chill down his spine. This was an unknown type of terrifying evil creature. A bitter killing intent emanated from the illusory figures, causing one's heart to palpitate. Countless black evil threads rushed out from the 3 illusory figures and entangled the old Taoist priest from the archaic Tao sect. The 3 evil creatures didn't seem to sense Gu Fei's existence and didn't attack Gu Fei. Demons? When the old Taoist priest from the archaic Tao sect saw the 3 figures, he couldn't help but be shocked. When Gu Fei saw this, he couldn't help but be shocked. Even the old Taoist priest from the archaic Tao sect was afraid of these 3 evil creatures. What kind of existences were they? Swoosh! The old Taoist priest directly attacked. The celestial king's sword swept out hundreds of feet, breaking through the layers of evil threads and slashing towards the 3 terrifying figures shrouded in black mist. The 3 figures floated forward silently, ignoring the old Taoist priest's celestial king's sword and surrounding him. Swoosh! The sword light cut through the void and directly slashed the 3 illusory figures, splitting them into 6 pieces in an instant. However, the old Taoist priest wasn't happy at all. Instead, his expression became even more serious. The celestial king's sword danced, and the old Taoist priest smashed the 3 figures coming towards him into pieces. Then, he spat out a mouthful of divine fire of the immortal path, burning the black threads into green smoke that dissipated into the void. Did you destroy those things? When Gu Fei saw this scene, he couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief. He thought it was some powerful evil creatures, but it seemed like they couldn't even withstand a single blow. The old Taoist priest from the archaic Tao sect was extremely powerful. He was definitely an expert among the Taoist priests. When he made a move, he unexpectedly dispersed the evil threads that were everywhere in the cave. The old Taoist priest seemed a little nervous. After refining countless black threads with a mouthful of immortal flame, he immediately walked to the stone door in front of the stone wall. Bang! He directly pushed his palm forward, and an endless amount of magic power surged forward, colliding with the ancient stone door on the stone wall. A shocking scene appeared. When the vast Dharma power hit the ancient stone door on the stone wall, it was like a clay ox entering the sea. It was continuously swallowed by the stone door. The palm of the Taoist priest was enough to turn a mountain into ashes, but now it couldn't even shake the stone door. It was really shocking. Was this really a heavenly door that couldn't be opened? The old Taoist priest repeatedly urged his Dharma power and pressed it against the stone door. He wanted to open the stone door on the stone wall and enter the legendary heaven realm. Of course, no one knew whether the heaven realm was behind the stone door. At this time, traces of gray and black evil chi silently floated out of the cracks on the ground. 3 illusory and terrifying figures that emitted soaring evil chi appeared in the evil fog again, and silently floated towards the old Taoist priest in front of the stone wall. Chapter 805. Inside the cave, the three illusory figures that had been killed by the old immortal king of the archaic Tao sect reappeared and silently floated towards the old immortal king. There were no soul fluctuations, not even energy fluctuations. There was only a towering killing intent. These three terrifying figures seemed to be condensed from endless killing intent. The three demons were only in human form, but they were blurry. It was impossible to distinguish their facial features. It was as if they could be blown away by a gust of wind at any time. Damn it! The old immortal king's hand was about to press on the ancient stone door on the stone wall, but he had no choice but to pull it back. These three so-called demons caused the old immortal king to be a little afraid. Swoosh! A sword light broke through the air. The immortal king's sword rushed out of the old immortal king's body like a golden dragon. It soared forward and killed the three floating figures. The entire cave was illuminated by the sword light, and the sword chi was vast. The cave shook and dust fell down. However, this time, the old immortal king's unparalleled sword light could not destroy the three figures. Even if the three figures were cut in half, they would instantly recover. These three evil beings were like demons. They had no consciousness, but they were extremely terrifying. They could instinctively float towards cultivators. As long as they were possessed by the demons, even an immortal god would be instantly devoured and turned into a skeleton. The demons could instinctively devour and absorb energy. Swoosh! The sword light was like a dragon. It circled and danced, destroying the three demons. However, the next moment, the black fog surged and the evil aura surged. Three terrifying figures once again appeared from the black fog. The three demons silently pounced towards the old immortal king. Above their illusory figures, there were evil threads that were difficult to see with the naked eye. They entangled the old immortal king. This was an instinctive attack. The old immortal king of the archaic Tao sect couldn't help but frown. These things were too difficult to deal with, but he didn't want to retreat. After all, this place might be a place that leads to the heavens. All the ancient desolate forces entered this primordial world for the sake of finding the path to the heavens. Gu Fei hid behind a mountain of bones in the distance, watching the scene quietly. He couldn't calm down. Even an immortal king couldn't kill those three devils. If he had to face them, he would definitely be in danger. He sealed his body with the power of heaven and earth, not daring to let even a hint of his aura leak out. The three demons were like demonic mist. It was unknown how many times they had been slashed apart by the old celestial king's divine sword. However, they would condense again every time. It would be destroyed as soon as it was cut, but it would be reborn as soon as it was destroyed. The three demons had already forced the old immortal king to retreat from the stone wall. The old immortal king's divine sword shook the void and split the heaven and earth. The three demons could not get close. However, the three demons didn't know what fear was. Without any scruples, they continued to float towards the old immortal king. As long as they pounced on him, even the old immortal king would not be able to escape. His entire body's essence, chi, and soul would be devoured. These demons formed from endless demonic chi, although they had no consciousness and only moved by instinct, seemed to be able to devour all energy. The old immortal king's sword light gradually dimmed. The power of the sword energy was being sucked away and then integrated into the black mist. The power of the demons was increasing, but the power of the old immortal king was gradually declining. Even the old immortal king felt that it was gradually difficult to resist. The sword energy of his true body was constantly being sucked out and dissipated in the void. An hour passed. The old immortal king of the archaic Tao sect used all kinds of methods. He even wanted to use his own pure yang sword energy to refine the three demons. However, no matter what method the old immortal king used, even if he didn't hesitate to release the pure yang true fire that could burn the sky and boil the sea, the result was the same. The three demons were indestructible and could not be refined. Good! I'll go borrow a pure yang treasure, and then refine these things that simply cannot exist in this world. In the end, the old immortal king of the archaic Tao sect wanted to leave. He used the sword light to protect his body and turned into a dazzling divine rainbow. He shot up into the sky and flew back the way he came. The three experts of the archaic Tao sect, the middle-aged Taoist and the young Taoist, had all fallen in the cave and turned into white bones. Only the old immortal king could contend against the Yin demons. However, at this time, even the old immortal king had no choice but to retreat. However, just as the old immortal king rode the sword light to destroy the endless evil threads and wanted to rush out, a black gust of wind appeared out of nowhere in the cave. The black wind swept up countless skeletons and swept towards the old immortal king. It was as if there were tens of thousands of black dragons flying, shaking the entire cave. Without thinking, Gu Fei directly rushed out from the darkness because he couldn't stay any longer. The ancient black wind had filled the entire cave, and within it, there was an unfathomable evil power. He felt that the power of heaven and earth that enveloped his body had been affected. The evil power contained in the black wind seemed to be able to disturb the power of heaven and earth. Gu Fei couldn't help but feel his heart palpitate. He felt great danger, and all the pores on his body were about to explode. If he didn't leave now, his life might be in danger. Swoosh! He used the 8 desolate steps, and in the blink of an eye, he disappeared at the entrance of the cave. His current position was not far from the entrance of the cave. It was a black storm that could even make a celestial realm peerless immortal emperor turn pale. The old immortal king of the archaic Tao sect had never thought that there would be someone hiding nearby. Seeing Gu Fei rush out, he couldn't help but be shocked. In the next moment, the black wind swallowed the old immortal king. Roar! The old immortal king roared again and again, and the entire cave seemed like it was about to collapse. Even the ancient stone door on the stone wall trembled slightly, and there was a Tao rhyme lingering on the stone door. The black storm seemed to be able to destroy everything in the world. Gu Fei escaped from the cave, and he was shocked to feel that terrifying destructive aura. If not for the power of heaven and earth isolating everything and blocking the black wind outside, even his immortal god-martial body would have been torn apart. The wind howled angrily, and the 3 Yin devils were swallowed by the storm. Gu Fei didn't go far, because the storm didn't blow out of the cave, it was only wreaking havoc inside the cave. He looked inside from the entrance of the cave, and saw a terrifying scene. Inside the black wind, there seemed to be countless figures faintly discernible, and there were also countless divine weapons and magic treasures attacking. Anything that stood in the way of the storm was destroyed. Inside the black storm, the old immortal king screamed in fear. He seemed to have encountered something terrifying, and he was desperately trying to break out of the black storm. However, very quickly, the old immortal king's voice weakened, and in the end, the golden sword light collapsed in the black storm. An immortal king had fallen. That's Chapter 806. This ancient cave is definitely an extremely dangerous place. It can even give birth to Yin demons that can kill immortals and gods, as well as terrifying existences that can kill mysterious transformation realm immortal kings. The cave that went deep into the ground was very large, with a radius of several miles. White bones covered the ground, and Yin Qi filled the air. It was an ominous place. On the opposite stone wall, there was an ancient stone door. The stone door was not big, only about 3 meters high and 2 meters wide. Even if the stone door was wide open, it could barely allow 2 people to walk in side by side. The stone door was very ordinary, but it was very old. The patterns on it were something that Gu Fei had never seen before. There were 2 ancient divine characters on the stone door. Gu Fei had never seen these divine characters before. Even the oldest books on the Tinglong continent did not have these divine characters. This was a language used by the people of the Antiquity Age, and it had long disappeared in the ruthless passage of time. However, the old immortal king of the archaic Tao sect recognized the 2 ancient divine characters on the door. Perhaps only the super antiques of the Antiquity Age could recognize these incomparably ancient divine characters. Heavenly Gate. These were 2 words that could make all the cultivators in the world go crazy. And in such an ancient cave, there was actually a heavenly gate. The heavenly gate was the path to heaven. There was an ancient legend among the antiquity age that by opening the heavenly gate, one could ascend to heaven in one step. It was a supreme treasure that was refined by the extreme experts of the antiquity age in order to connect the two realms of heaven and man. Now that immortals and mortals were separated forever, the only way to enter the heavenly realm was to find the legendary heavenly gate, open it, and ascend to heaven in one step. Heavenly gate, heavenly realm. Gu Fei stood at the entrance of the cave, quietly looking at the stone door on the stone wall several miles away. He also had an incomparable yearning for the world of the strong. The black storm that was raging in the cave calmed down. The old immortal king of the archaic Tao sect had fallen. This caused Gu Fei to be extremely shocked. That was an immortal king, yet he actually died here. Gu Fei truly didn't dare to believe it. Gu Fei sensed the presence of an evil energy in the cave. The broken ground was repairing itself. Everything in the cave that had been destroyed was quickly restored to its original state. The only difference was that there were now 3 sets of bones on the ground. An unfathomable power had sealed this cave, and even an immortal king would find it hard to cause any damage to it. All of this was too strange, and it caused Gu Fei's heart to palpitate. An immortal king perished, his soul scattered, all of his blood and flesh devoured. Even his soul was treated as a snack by that terrifying unknown existence. The evil creatures in the cave could devour all kinds of energy. If it wasn't for the heaven and earth energy in Gu Fei's body isolating his aura, he would have no choice but to hide in the hell realm. In the end, Gu Fei felt that he couldn't take the risk. He thought of a way. He wanted to reveal the existence of the ancient cave to the world. Isn't the Zhou clan, the Guangqing immortal sect, and even all the ancient desolation factions looking for the destiny of heaven? Humph! As Gu Fei thought of this, he directly retreated the way he came. He wanted to borrow the hands of others to open the heaven gate. He finally knew why the corpse in the cave was so broken. The green monster that was killed by the old immortal king of the archaic Tao sect was not to be trifled with. Soon, Gu Fei rushed out of the ancient cave at the bottom of the cliff. A few days later, a piece of news that caused countless people to go crazy quietly spread in the ancient desolation world. Whoosh! A white-haired old man directly broke through the void and appeared above the cliff where the ancient cave was located. Then, with a flash, he rushed down and disappeared at the entrance of the ancient cave. Roar! Very soon, a muffled roar came from the ground. Not long after, the old man who had rushed into the ancient cave rushed out in an extremely sorry state. Whoosh! The old man rushed up into the sky. Half of his white hair seemed to have been burned off. His clothes were in tatters, and blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. It was a shocking sight to see. Rumble! A huge, pitch-black hand reached out from the ancient cave and shrouded the old man high in the sky, trying to grab the old man. The big hand emitted an unprecedentedly powerful killing intent. The cliff above the ancient cave was instantly shaken by the vast power of the big hand, and the dust floated in the void. The entrance of the ancient cave was completely exposed. It was a pitch-black cave diagonally downward. Humph! The old man sneered. He was extremely powerful, and the magic power in his hands was vast. He directly tore through the void and entered the void. Bang! The pitch-black hand smashed into the void, shattering the space. However, the old man had already disappeared. A figure stood on a mountain peak in the distance. He had seen everything that had happened. Even a celestial was defeated? Gu Fei stood on the mountain peak, extremely shocked. He knew that the old man who just entered the ancient cave was a super expert. In the past few days, Gu Fei had revealed the matter of the ancient cave and the heavenly sect. As expected, all the major ancient powers went crazy. These powers kept sending experts to investigate the ancient cave. Before the old man, 3 groups of people had entered the ancient cave. However, there was no news of those who entered the ancient cave, and they never came out again. It was obvious that those who entered the ancient cave had become one of the countless skeletons in the underground cave. That old man was the only one who managed to escape in the past 2 days. He was a celestial, and he had supreme magic power and magic power. Even in existence like the celestial being was forced into such a sorry state that he had no choice but to retreat. One could only imagine how terrifying the ferocious creature in the underground cave was. In the next few days, Gu Fei appeared around the ancient cave. Gradually, other figures appeared in the area around the ancient cave. Rumble! One evening, a golden chariot appeared in the sky. It was like an ancient mountain crushing down from the void. Its powerful aura was not concealed at all. Terrifying waves spread out from the golden chariot. It arrived above the mountains, and the powerful pressure caused everything within a few hundred miles to quieten down. It was like a peerless Shen King patrolling the sky. Countless birds and beasts were shocked. On top of the golden chariot, one could vaguely see a terrifying figure. A real expert had appeared. All the cultivators in the mountains were indescribably shocked. On top of the chariot was a huge flag with a jiang embroidered on it, fluttering in the wind. "It's an expert from the Jiang family of the clan of the ancients." Gu Fei couldn't help but be moved when he saw this scene. The golden chariot emitted a golden light. The person on top of the chariot was definitely a terrifying celestial. Roar! Chapter 807. The area where the Heavenly Gate's underground cave was located was just a corner of the land. In this part of the untainted antiquity world, it was just a drop in the ocean. After the news spread, all the forces that entered the untainted antiquity world were alarmed. No one could remain calm when the legendary Heavenly Gate had appeared. All the cultivators who heard the news rushed to the area where the underground cave was located. At this moment, the one who was most displeased was Jiang Fan, a celestial from the Jiang clan of the ancients. Both the Holy Land and the clan of the ancients had appeared. He knew that it would be difficult for the Jiang clan to monopolize the Heavenly Gate. The golden chariot of the Jiang clan rolled through the sky like a huge mountain. Its powerful aura was like that of a peerless Shen King inspecting his territory, causing the sky to tremble. Of course, the news of the Heavenly Gate had been deliberately leaked by Gu Fei. This area was actually the territory of the Jiang clan in the untainted antiquity world. He found someone from the Jiang clan and sold the news to them at the price of a 10,000-year-old divine tree. As a result, there was no need for Gu Fei to worry about what would happen next. Moreover, it was not something he could control. The old man who had rushed into the cave and survived was none other than one of the devas of the Jiang clan. After receiving confirmation, the Jiang clan began to gather people and rushed to the cave. The golden chariot stopped in the sky, suppressing all directions. However, in another direction, a middle-aged man who looked like a wild beast was madly rushing through the void. "Guangzhou, what is the meaning of this? How dare you trespass on the territory of the Jiang clan? Are you trying to start a war between the Jiang clan and the Zhou clan?" A loud shout came from the golden chariot. The entire world trembled along with this shout. This was the might of a celestial. With a wave of his hand, he could summon the power of heaven and earth. "Humph!" The middle-aged man approached and sneered. He stopped in the sky and confronted the person in the golden chariot. "Jiang Fan, others might be afraid of you, but I, Guangzhou, am not. The news of the Heavenly Gate's appearance cannot be concealed. Your Jiang clan wants to monopolize it? That won't do." The middle-aged man's voice was like a great bell, shaking the mountains. Swoosh! At this moment, the void above suddenly shattered, and a door appeared high up in the sky. Then, a dozen figures walked out from the door. "Domain door?" Jiang Fan, who was on the golden chariot, and Zhou Kuang, who was standing in the air, frowned. Someone from the ancient desolate had arrived. More than a dozen people walked out of the domain door. They were all wearing Taoist robes. Their clothes were very old, and each of them was surrounded by immortal qi. They were standing on auspicious clouds, as if they were true immortals who had descended from the 9 heavens. "Someone from the archaic Tao sect?" Jiang Fan and Zhou Kuang couldn't help but be moved. Now that the people from the archaic Tao sect had arrived, it would be impossible for the Jiang clan to monopolize the Heavenly Gate. Rumble! At that instant, more than 10 bronze chariots appeared from behind Jiang Fan. Each chariot had a powerful figure standing on it. "Let's join forces and quickly break open the heavenly gate and open the path to immortality. What do you think?" A middle-aged Taoist from the archaic Tao sect came to Jiang Fan and Zhou Kuang and said calmly. The archaic Tao sect had directly opened the domain door to come here. The disappearance of the heavenly gate had quickly reached the ears of the ancient desolate powers, but no one had expected it. Bang! At this time, the blue dome of heaven shook and the void suddenly collapsed. A dozen ethereal and elegant women walked out from the collapsed void. Each one of them was beautiful and out of this world, simply like fairies descending to the mortal world. "The fairies from the Yaobai ancient sacred ground have also arrived. How troublesome!" The experts in the sky couldn't help but frown. Now that the 3 clans had become 4, none of the ancient desolate powers could monopolize the heavenly gate. Soon, the people of the 4 ancient desolate clans came to an agreement and set up a sky-ceiling formation within 100 miles of the cave. Rumble! 9 stone pillars shot out from the ground in all directions. The stone pillars were engraved with ancient runes, and at the center of the 9 stone pillars was where the cave was located. The sky-ceiling formation began to operate. The 9 stone pillars drew upon the power of heaven and earth, moving mountains and draining seas, and isolating the void. The area within a 100-mile radius was practically locked out of the ancient desolate world. All other cultivators within a 100-mile radius were expelled. Only those from the archaic Tao sect, the Jiang clan, the Zhou clan, and the Yaobai ancient sacred ground could enter. The Jiang clan, the archaic Tao sect, the Zhou clan, and the Yaobai ancient sacred ground were the first to receive the news. The other powers received the news later. By the time they arrived, they were blocked outside by the sky-ceiling formation, unable to enter. Soon, the Zhao clan and the Li clan arrived as well. The Zhao clan and the Li clan were both ancient desolate clans. A celestial from the Zhao clan directly moved to break the sky-ceiling formation. However, the sky-ceiling formation was a peerless formation jointly set up by 4 celestials from the Zhou clan, the Jiang clan, the archaic Tao sect, and the Yaobai ancient sacred ground. Once it was activated, it could connect with heaven and earth, drawing in endless power. Perhaps only an almighty expert could break it. Damn it! This is too much. How can this be? The various ancient desolate powers arrived one after another. Seeing the scene unfolding before them, they couldn't help but feel shocked and angry. Some of them couldn't help but roar. "Go ask an almighty expert to come and uphold justice," someone shouted. Others immediately turned and left to invite experts. To be able to pass down their legacies for so many years, each ancient desolate power had endless resources. Some ancient desolate powers were said to be guarded by almighty experts. Gu Fei stood on a mountain peak. Soon, he noticed He Tian, Little Qing, and Balon. Gu Fei transmitted a message to Little Qing and the others, who immediately rushed over to meet up with Gu Fei. Boom! Suddenly, a loud sound came from within the sky-ceiling formation, shaking the earth. At that moment, the ground caved in, indicating that a celestial was making a move. A divine pagoda made of 5-colored divine essence descended from the sky, releasing dazzling rays of light. The boundless divine light directly broke through the earth, causing heaven and earth to tremble. Something's wrong. Outside the sky-ceiling formation, a dozen disciples from the Zhao clan of the ancients had strange expressions on their faces. Could it be that the people inside have started? How despicable! They actually want to monopolize the sky-ceiling formation? At that moment, within the sky-ceiling formation, 4 almighty experts from the Jiang clan, the Zhou clan, the archaic Tao sect, and the Yaobai ancient sacred ground stood high up in the sky. Jiang Fan, a celestial from the Jiang clan, activated the 5-colored divine pagoda and broke through the earth. Soon, a huge cave appeared in front of everyone. The cave was about 10,000 feet deep into the ground, and there was an endless amount of evil energy lingering around it. Roar! A roar echoed out without any warning. The cave had been opened, and the evil existence lurking in the cave was alerted. The mountains shook, and the entire heaven-sealing grand spell formation trembled. Everyone's expressions changed. The grayish-black evil fog rose up from the ground, enveloping the entire cave. Within the fog, there were some invisible evil silks, following the evil beasts in all directions. Chapter 808. Rumble. The five-colored divine pagoda above the cave emitted a heaven-devouring power. It wanted to suck the evil mist into the divine pagoda and refine it with the five-elemental divine fire. This divine pagoda was refined by Jiang Fan using the five-colored divine jade. It was his celestial weapon and could collapse mountains, rivers, lakes, and seas. It was extremely powerful. The evil mist that was constantly leaking out of the cave was attracted by the divine pagoda's heaven-devouring power. Then, it converged on the divine pagoda in the sky and entered it. Jiang Fan descended from the sky and landed on the top of the divine pagoda. He sat down cross-legged and circulated his divine power to refine the dark gray evil mist that had entered the divine pagoda. The celestials of the other three factions watched this scene nervously. No one made a move. It really is the heavenly door! The legendary heavenly door has appeared! Heavenly realm! Our roots are there! The primordial Tao sect, Yaopai ancient sacred land, and Zhou clan's Zhou Kuang looked through the void and the evil mist. Soon, they found the ancient stone door on the cave's wall. The stone door was simple and unadorned. It was engraved with ancient patterns. It was impossible to tell how long it had existed. Some people couldn't help but want to rush forward, but they were stopped by the celestial realm immortal Shen King. Even a celestial realm immortal emperor felt danger, let alone the other cultivators. A mysterious aura emanated from the cave, and a powerful evil energy was slowly condensing. A grayish-black fog rushed up to the sky, and spread out in all directions. Not good, there's something strange under the ground. Those from the primordial Tao sect, the Yaobai ancient holy land, the desolate Jiang family, and the desolate Zhou family all had shocked expressions on their faces. All of them could feel that the evil energy was getting stronger and stronger. Gradually it surged like an ocean. At this time, the people guarding outside the sky-ceiling grand formation also felt the change. Their faces changed and they shouted, "You bastards, open the formation and let us in!" The people inside the heaven-sealing grand formation already knew that the situation was bad. A few people who were infected by the evil mist suddenly shrank and turned into white bones in an instant, falling from the sky. Those people's energy, spirit, and even their blood were instantly devoured. Everything happened so quickly that they didn't even understand what was going on. Swish! 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 Everyone quickly retreated. Their bodies turned into divine rainbows as they retreated into the distance. Without a sound, three blurry figures floated out of the black mist and flew toward the three celestial beings in the sky. There was no fluctuation of energy, no trace of soul aura, only a sky-piercing murderous aura. Those three figures were very strange, but also incomparably terrifying. "Yin demon! It's a Yin demon!" cried the diviner from the primeval Tao sect. Legend had it that these things were evil objects formed from the evil thoughts of countless living beings that had fallen. They weren't demons, but they were even more terrifying. Yin demons could devour the energy of living beings to strengthen themselves, and they had unlimited space to grow. It could be said that if the Yin demon devoured enough energy and fully matured, even an extreme expert would have to retreat. "Let's go!" The three devas rushed out of the evil mist, and even Jiang Fan used the five-colored divine pagoda to fly up into the sky and back away. However, at this time, Jiang Fan was shocked to find that the evil mist that had been devoured by the five-colored divine pagoda was difficult to refine. Within the evil mist were countless threads that were corroding the five-colored divine pagoda. The divine light of the pagoda began to dim. Black fiend threads? Jiang Fan was shocked. He realized that he had made a fatal mistake. There were black fiend threads hidden within the evil mist. These black fiend threads came from the Yin demon, and were condensed from the evil power of the Yin demon. They didn't have a physical body, and anyone who was entangled by these black fiend threads would be instantly devoured by the evil power of the black fiend threads. Even their blood would be sucked dry. These black fiend threads could corrode anything in the world. Only a few pure yang treasures in the world could dispel these black fiend threads. Divine weapons refined by diviners would find it difficult to erase these black fiend threads. After the appearance of the Yin demon, the evil mist quickly spread out, covering the sky and covering the earth. A few cultivators who hadn't been able to escape in time immediately disappeared into the evil mist. Boom! At this moment, there was a huge tremor that shook heaven and earth. Terrifying waves of magic power erupted like 100,000 volcanoes at the same time. The sky and earth were on the verge of collapsing. High up in the sky, 6 balls of fiery divine light appeared, as if 6 suns had suddenly appeared in the sky. The power of the purest yang was vast, and the evil mist that had been rising from the ground immediately dissipated like snow under the illumination of the 6 balls of divine light. A pure yang treasure, the divine fire mirror of 6 yang? Jiang Fan almost exclaimed when he saw this. The 6 balls of pure yang flames were fixed in the sky, and endless heat poured down, melting the rocks on the ground. Even though they had retreated far away, everyone still felt like their bodies were enveloped in flames, as if they were about to burn. Zhou Kuang of the Zhou clan of the primordial antiquity stared at the 6 balls of divine fire in the sky and murmured, "A pure yang treasure refined by a supreme being?" The leader of the Yaotai ancient sacred lands divine maiden exclaimed, "The heaven terminus of the archaic Tao sect actually brought this treasure here." A supreme treasure refined by a supreme being was known as a half-saint artifact. It was the most powerful magic treasure below the extreme saint artifact, and possessed a terrifying power that could destroy heaven and earth. High up in the sky, a middle-aged Taoist held an ancient bronze mirror in his hand and shone it down at the cave below. 6 balls of divine fire rushed out of the mirror and fixed themselves in the sky. The endless evil mist dissipated one after another. Even the Yin demons within the evil mist seemed to be afraid of the pure yang aura descending from the sky, and actually retreated back into the cave. How could there be such an impossible thing here? Everyone's faces were ashen and extremely unsightly. It was hard to believe that there was such a terrifying evil being near the heavenly gate. They hadn't even gotten close to the heavenly gate, but they had already lost a few cultivators. This was not a good sign. Rumble. The heaven terminus of the archaic Tao sect circulated his magic power and activated the divine fire mirror of 6 yang in his hand. 6 balls of divine light that were as dazzling as the sun emitted endless pure yang energy, pressing down from the sky. Finally, the 6 balls of pure yang energy condensed into a divine light above the cave, suppressing the evil aura within. After that, the Zhou clan of the desolate antiquity, the Jiang clan of the Zhou clan, the archaic Tao sect, the Yaotai ancient sacred land, and the Zhou clan of the desolate antiquity discussed for a while and decided to join forces to open the heavenly gate first. The sky ceiling formation could stop celestials, but it couldn't stop supreme beings. If they were too late and supreme beings arrived, then they wouldn't be able to enter the heaven realm before the other ancient powers. We must open the heavenly gate first. Chapter 809. The power of the ancient barons was so deep that no one could imagine it. A power that could survive in the far ancient era was extremely terrifying. Legend had it that some of the ancient sacred lands and clan of the ancient barons were overseeing things. The sky ceiling formation set up by the 4 celestials of the 4 ancient desolate factions could only block celestial beings Celestial Emperor and Celestial Emperor, but it couldn't block almighty beings stronger than Celestial Emperors and Celestial Emperors. Tianji of the far ancient Taoist sect used the divine fire mirror of 6 yang to suppress the yin energy in the cave. Then, the people of the ancient barons made their move. Whoosh! 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 All kinds of magical treasures and divine weapons radiated brilliance, bombarding the heaven gate on the stone wall below, causing violent energy waves to erupt. However, to everyone's surprise, the stone door on the wall did not budge at all. Furthermore, The ancient patterns and patterns on the stone door gradually became brighter. The patterns and patterns are wriggling! Jiangfan, who was in the celestial realm, noticed the subtle changes on the stone door. At that moment, all the cultivators were shocked. The stone door that was under attack started to change. The ancient patterns on the stone door started to move, and new patterns started to appear on the closed stone door. Bang! A huge golden hand reached down from the sky, and directly pushed towards the stone door on the cave wall. Boundless magic power dispelled the evil qi, and the vast energy rippled out, causing the entire cave to shake. Jiangfan made his move. He was at the peak of the Deva realm, and yet, the stone door didn't budge at all. Jiangfan was at the peak of the Deva being realm, and yet, the stone door didn't budge. The ancient patterns on the stone door began to flow with the aura of the great Tao of heaven and earth. They were densely packed and covered the entire stone door, as if they were engraved with unknown runes. It seemed mysterious. It's absorbing power! Jiangfan watched as the golden hand he had conjured with his supreme dharmic powers dimmed rapidly. Jiangfan was incomparably shocked, and the other Devas were dumbfounded. Even Devas couldn't open the stone door. Did they really have to ask for help from almighty experts? The people of the archaic Tao sect, the Zhou clan of the primordial era, and the goddess of the Yaobai ancient sacred land tried to break the stone door several times, but they all failed. Moreover, the stone gate was devouring everyone's magic power. The ancient patterns on the stone gate began to shoot out rays of divine light from time to time, piercing through the void. The unlucky ones couldn't dodge in time and were pierced by the divine light that shot out from the stone gate. The Jiang family of the desolate antiquity lost 2 of their ancient bronze chariots. A few disciples of the Zhou clan of the desolate antiquity had fallen. The fairies of the Jadistige ancient holy land also lost their colors at this time. Although the people from the archaic Tao sect were in a sorry state, none of them had died. The ancient patterns on the stone door possessed a strange and unfathomable power. After absorbing everyone's magic power, they became even more extraordinary. Ancient patterns appeared on the stone door. There were birds and beasts in the pictures, and there were even scenes of humans from the primordial era fighting against powerful creatures. Scenes of the desolate antiquity world appeared on the stone door. Divine phoenixes soared in the 9 heavens, and true dragons soared between the heaven and earth. It was like a primordial painting was being presented. An ancient aura that seemed to come from the primordial era spread out from the stone door. We have to ask for almighty experts. We can't open the heavenly door on our own. We can only wait for the almighty experts to come. But we don't know how many almighty experts will come when the time comes. The divine fire mirror of 6 Yang was still fixed in the sky, suppressing the surging yin energy in the cave. The 4 Devas were talking in low voices. In the middle of the yin energy in the cave, 3 blurry figures could be seen. 3 yin demons were pacing back and forth in the cave, as if they could rush out at any time. The experts of the 4 desolate factions stood high up in the sky, their expressions ugly. The heaven gate was actually so evil, they could only wait for reinforcements to arrive. Tianji of the archaic Tao sect, Jiang Fan of the Jiang family of the desolate antiquity, Zhou Kuang of the Zhou family, and Li Shuiyu of the Yaobai ancient holy land all used secret techniques to send the news back. Everyone was moved by the appearance of the heavenly door. Even the almighty experts would go crazy. It was easy to imagine that after receiving the news, the experts of the 4 ancient powers would definitely come out. Swish! 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 Outside the heavenly ceiling formation, the sound of air being torn could be heard. Divine rainbows kept appearing in the sky. After the news was leaked, more cultivators arrived one after another. However, when these people saw the heavenly ceiling formation in front of them, they were dumbfounded. Someone had actually set up a heavenly ceiling formation to block countless cultivators outside. Some people couldn't help but curse. The people of the Jiang family of the desolate antiquity, the Zhou family, the archaic Tao sect, and the Yaobai ancient holy land were too much. They actually wanted to monopolize the heavenly door. Some of the people of the Jiang family arrived, but they were immediately chased away by people who recognized them. The people of the four ancient powers inside the heavenly ceiling formation had become the target of public criticism. It should be known that the people who were blocked outside the heavenly ceiling formation included the experts of the various ancient powers. Even the celestials were blocked outside. The people of the archaic Tao sect, the Yaobai ancient Holy Land, the Zhou family, and the Jiang family of the desolate antiquity were all chased away. The people of the other ancient powers vented their anger on the people of the four ancient powers. It could be said that these people were unlucky. Gu Fei had been watching the scene from the top of the mountain in the distance. Rumble! Suddenly, a powerful energy fluctuation came from the mountains in the distance. The mountains were collapsing, and the void was trembling. Someone was fighting. Boss, is the heavenly door inside the formation really a heavenly door? He Tian asked. There was no cultivator on the heavenly path who wouldn't be nervous, and He Tian was no exception. There is indeed a stone door inside, but who knows where it leads to? Gu Fei said. Perhaps it was a stone door that couldn't be opened. The heavenly path? Is there really a heavenly path in this world? The heavenly realm was only a legend. For millions of years, no one had been able to break through the void and enter the heavenly realm. Whether it's true or not, we can only wait and see for now, Gu Fei said. He could sense that there were already no less than 3 celestials gathered outside the heavenly ceiling formation. This was a battle between powerful people, and it wasn't something they could interfere with. Just at this time, the clouds in the sky rumbled, and a figure stepped on a 5-colored light, walking over step by step. This person's every movement was in accordance with the laws of heaven and earth. He didn't have a powerful aura, nor did he have a terrifying pressure. He was just like an ordinary person. However, ordinary people couldn't fly, and they didn't have the 5-colored light to cover their bodies. Chapter 8:10. Let's go! Without any hesitation, Gu Fei turned around and left. The arrival of an almighty was not just an ordinary almighty. Gu Fei decisively retreated. The figure did not emit monstrous dermic power fluctuations, nor did he release a powerful aura. However, he stepped on a 5-colored radiance as he approached from afar. Everyone outside the heaven-sealing grand spell formation was awed. Even the high and mighty celestials had to lower their proud heads. Seeing that the situation was not good, some people quietly retreated like Gu Fei. However, the majority of the people stayed. Every time the figure took a step, a 5-colored radiance appeared under his feet. However, this person looked like an ordinary person. There was nothing dazzling about him. Soon, the figure arrived outside the heavenly seal formation. When he saw that someone had set up an ancient heavenly seal formation to block everyone outside, he could not help but frown. The person who came was a very ordinary middle-aged man. He wore clothes that had been washed so many times that they had turned white. His hair was simply tied up with a rag and he wore a pair of gray cloth shoes. Even if he walked on the street, no one would give him a second glance. But now, this ordinary person had become the only one in the world. He stood high in the sky and casually waved his sleeves. A stone pillar in front of him that exuded the aura of the great Tao and had countless ancient runes on it silently turned into dust. Instantly, an opening appeared in the ancient heaven ceiling array. In the void, countless runic inscriptions collapsed and disappeared. The entire ancient heaven ceiling array was almost destroyed just like that. Swoosh! The middle-aged man strode through the air and entered the sky-ceiling great formation. Then, the entire sky-ceiling great formation collapsed. The remaining 8 stone pillars on the ground turned into dust and drifted away. The heavenly seal formation had been broken. The ancient heavenly seal formation could stop celestial beings like the Celestial Emperor and Shin King. However, in front of an almighty, it could not withstand a single blow. Under an almighty, everyone was an ant. After the heavenly seal formation was broken by the middle-aged man, an evil aura immediately spread out from the heavenly seal formation. Rumble! In the distance, there were 6 divine flames that looked like 6 suns. They were fixed high up in the sky, and the boundless pure yang energy was pouring down, causing the entire world to tremble. At this time, the people from the other ancient desolate forces that were blocked by the sky-ceiling formation immediately rushed over. Under the 6 balls of divine light, endless black evil energy surged. One could see a pitch-black cave on the ground. A sky-piercing evil power burst out from the cave, within which 3 faint silhouettes emerged soundlessly. Gu Fei, Little Qing, and the others had already retreated 100 li away. They were just people invited by the Zhou clan's peripheral forces, so no one would put them in their eyes. Even if a powerhouse were to kill them, the Zhou clan of the ancients would never stand up for them. This was the cruel reality of the cultivation world. Everything was illusory. Only power was the most real. Gu Fei and the others stopped in a valley. Powerful energy ripples came from the direction of the heaven gate. Heaven and earth energy was being drawn. The heaven and earth energy was extremely dense. "Boss, why should we retreat? We can blend in with those people," Erebus said with a hint of regret in his voice. "Humph. The Zhou clan of the ancients and the Guangqing immortal sect have bad intentions. I don't want to be used by them," Gu Fei said. The Zhou clan and the Guangqing immortal sect wanted them to fend for themselves in the ancient desolate world. Moreover, Gu Fei had many enemies. He had offended Zhao Wuji, the descendant of the Zhao clan of the ancients, outside the Dragon Valley. He didn't want to meet the people of the Zhao clan. "Let's wait and see. This is no longer something we can interfere in," Little Qing said. He could also see the danger. They were not qualified to go near the cave where the heavenly gate was located. "If the master was here, we might have a chance," Balan said in a deep voice. The master he mentioned was the old tortoise. The old tortoise was a super ruffian. Back in the western Buddhist lands, he wanted to take advantage of the battle between the great earth demonic lording Tian and the unscrupulous monk to teach them a lesson. No one knew whether he succeeded or not. However, the old tortoise never returned and was separated from Gu Fei and the others. The old tortoise was an almighty demon that had lived for countless years. He wouldn't die so easily. He might be having fun somewhere. Swoosh! 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 At this time, a few divine rainbow-like lights flew over from afar. In an instant, they arrived above the valley where Gu Fei and the others were. "Ha!" Gu Fei's eyes were like lightning. He saw through the lights and saw the cultivators flying in the sky. "Humph!" Gu Fei sneered and suddenly made a move. He stretched out his right hand and pressed towards the sky. A violent force shook the void and shattered the heaven and earth. Bang! The 3 streaks of light that flew above the valley began to tremble violently, and shouts of shock and anger rang out in the sky. The ancient martial path was based on strength. Gu Fei's palm pressed forward. There was no fluctuation of magic power, no phenomenon of supernatural power, only pure strength. He directly used the divine power of the martial path to shake the void. The 3 lights above the valley were scattered, forcing the people in the sky to descend from the sky. "Gu Fei, it's you?" A cry of surprise came from the sky. A beautiful woman descended from the sky and revealed a surprised expression. Then, a cold murderous aura emitted from the woman's body. The woman in white opened her mouth and spat out a divine light as bright as a star. It smashed towards Gu Fei. It was as if a huge star fell from the sky. The vast force directly shook the earth, causing it to crack. "Where did this little girl come from? You're courting death!" He Tian couldn't help but be furious. His soul power suddenly erupted. A faint and illusory figure rushed out from his head and faced the falling, big star. Boom! The illusory figure punched out with a punch. Boundless soul energy burst forth from his fist as a resplendent soul godlight lit up the entire world. Bang! The endless soul power collided with the big star, and issued a dull sound. The big star was blown away by the illusory figure that rushed out from He Tian's body. The illusory figure also disappeared into the void. Chapter 811. How dare you attack our Zhao clan's honored guest? Don't tell me that you want to become enemies with my Zhao clan? Two young men with extraordinary bearing came together with Beitang Yu. Bubble, and one of the young men shouted, Zhao clan! Primordial Zhao clan! Gu Fei couldn't help but smile when he heard this. He didn't expect to run into people from the Zhao clan again. You dare to look at my Zhao clan? The other young man saw Gu Fei's disdainful expression and couldn't help but raise his eyebrows while his eyes flickered. At this time, He Tian and Beitang Yu collided head-on. The big star that Beitang Yu spat out was sent flying high into the sky by He Tian. The power of the stars surged violently. That big star seemed to be a real star of the ninth heaven, giving people an incomparably strong sense of oppression. Hee hee! So what if I want to see you? Even Zhao Wuji was defeated by my big brother. What do you think you are? Yes, if you know what's good for you, get lost. Otherwise, leave your life behind. I haven't fought in a long time. My hands are a bit itchy. Gu Fei didn't say anything. Instead, He Tian, Little Qing, and Balon came forward. Their powerful auras spread throughout the valley, causing the nearby wild beasts to retreat. What, this? How is this possible? The two young men were shocked when they heard this. They couldn't believe that Zhao Wuji was able to defeat Zhao Wuji. One must know that Zhao Wuji was the most outstanding descendant of the Zhao clan. The elders of the Zhao clan had already regarded him as the best candidate to become the next Zhao clan patriarch. Gu Fei, I didn't expect to meet you here. I don't know if you're unlucky or if I'm lucky. The big star above Beitang Yu's head descended from the sky. Boundless stellar energy, vast and mighty, it was as though a real star had descended from the nine heavens, suppressing the world in all directions. Rumble! The entire mountain valley shook. Beitang Yu was in control of such a treasure, it really surprised Gu Fei. The big star floating above Beitang Yu's head was unexpectedly able to release such an astonishing star power fluctuation. Perhaps it really was a secret treasure refined from a star. Catching the stars and grabbing the moon, this was the means of a supreme expert. Perhaps the supreme celestial being realm immortal emperor or Shen King could also do it, but without a doubt, Beitang Yu had a supreme treasure. Humph! I should be the one saying this! Gu Fei sneered. 300 years had passed, but this Beitang Yu was still the same. She had not changed at all. However, this Beitang Yu had also cultivated to the immortal god realm. Furthermore, she was in control of a treasure. Thus, she was truly qualified to be arrogant. Unfortunately, she met me. Gu Fei thought. The grudge between him and the Beitang family had reached a point where only one side was annihilated could it be resolved. It would be best if Beitang Ao was still alive. Dongfang Chen was dead, and the Dongfang family would absolutely not let this matter rest. However, the Eastern Region Devil Cave's unusual movements had temporarily prevented the Dongfang family from dealing with Gu Fei. Gu Fei did not mind becoming enemies with two great cultivation families at the same time. Courting death! Beitang Yu let out a loud shout and directly urged the big star above her head. A sonorous sound suddenly resounded and a terrifying power of the stars burst out from the big star, with a loud bang. The big star shook again and again, drawing the power of the world in all directions. Above the sky, countless stars appeared. In the depths of the endless sky, a starry sky emerged. This was the starry sky of the untainted world. The big star above Beitang Yu's head not only drew the power of the world, but it also seemed to communicate with the starry sky of this untainted world, wanting to borrow the power of the stars of this world. Swish! 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 Rays of starlight condensed into swords of stars, and with sonorous sounds, they pierced through the void, splitting the world, and slashed towards Gu Fei, Little Qing, He Tian, and Balon below. The endless star power condensed into swords of stars, incomparably resplendent. Each sword light was thousands of zhang long, and the vast amount of starlight that could destroy everything, blotting out the sky and covering the earth as they attacked Gu Fei and the others. The void was pierced by the unparalleled sword light, and the void was riddled with holes. The two young men of the Zhao family had already retreated far away. These two fellows seemed to be Beitang Yu's pursuers. They did not leave, but stood in the distant sky, watching this scene nervously. Playing with swords with me? A disdainful look appeared on Gu Fei's face. Then, a powerful force erupted from his body. At the same time, Little Qing, He Tian, and Balon soared into the sky, rushing towards the two young men of the Zhao family. Reverse refining yin-yang into the 5 elements. 5 elements swords appear! Gu Fei shouted, and a 5-colored divine light rushed out of his body. Sonorous sounds rang out incessantly, as if countless divine weapons were vibrating inside his body. Swish! 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 The power of the 5 elements, metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, was mobilized, turning into a 5-colored divine sword that soared into the sky to meet the countless swords of stars descending from the sky. The 5 elements' divine swords and the swords of stars formed a sea of swords that instantly collided with each other. Countless sword lights shattered, and sword chi soared into the sky. The entire valley was turned into ruins, trees were crushed, rocks were cut, and even cliffs were cut into countless pieces. Little Qing and the others had no choice but to retreat to the distance. Beitang Yu, give me your life! Gu Fei let out a furious roar and soared into the sky, charging towards Beitang Yu. Boundless blood and qi gushed out from his body, and boundless divine power surged within his body. The formidable immortal divine martial body contained a vast amount of blood and qi, and his divine power was inexhaustible. The current Gu Fei was simply like the reincarnation of the sacred battle emperor. The vast power emanating from his body directly shook the world. Wherever he passed, countless starlight swords crumbled. Countless 5 elements divine swords danced around him, cutting everything in their path as they rushed towards Beitang Yu. Beitang Yu's expression changed when she saw this. She realized that she had made a grave mistake. Her opponent was a martial immortal that had not appeared in millions of years. His battle prowess could be said to be invincible in the same realm. Thinking of this, Beitang Yu had the intention to retreat. Even if she had a supreme treasure, she was not sure that she could defeat Gu Fei. Beitang Yu still did not know that Dong Fangchen had been killed by Gu Fei. If she knew, she would have turned around and fled as soon as she saw Gu Fei. Rumble! The big star above Beitang Yu's head descended and directly suppressed Gu Fei. The power of the stars surged violently, and the starlight shone brightly. Chapter 8:12. Rumble! The star descended, suppressing heaven and earth. The entire void trembled as if it was about to collapse. The resplendent, big star became the only thing between heaven and earth. Swish! 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 The 5 elements' magical sword soared into the sky, piercing through the big star that was descending from the sky. The power of the 5 elements was overwhelming, and the divine sword pierced through the air with extreme sharpness. The clanging sound resounded throughout heaven and earth, like the sound of thousands of divine weapons, causing people's hearts to palpitate. This was the power of martial arts, and even heaven and earth seemed to lose their brilliance. Gu Fei raised the power of the divine sword condensed from the power of the 5 elements to the limit. Thousands of 5-colored sword lights slashed through the void, destroying everything. However, the big star that descended from the sky was worthy of being called a supreme treasure. It possessed great power, as if it could crush heaven and earth. Moreover, under Beitang Yu's full power, the big star actually triggered the ancient starry sky above the sky. Specks of starlight sprinkled down from the ancient starry sky above the sky, then merged with the big star in the sky, causing it to shine with boundless radiance. The bright starlight made everyone unable to open their eyes, and the power of the stars fluctuated with unprecedented intensity. The 5-colored sword lights collapsed under the starlight of the big star, and the power of the 5 elements was suppressed by the power of the stars. This, Little Qing and the others originally wanted to teach the 2 fellows of the Zhao family a lesson, but when they saw this scene, they couldn't help but stop. The vast star power radiating from the great star caused their hearts to palpitate. Big brother! Little Qing couldn't help but feel nervous. The big star that descended from the sky was very frightening, and it attracted the power of the ancient starry sky, which could obliterate everything. Under the starlight, Gu Fei was like a sacred battle emperor, walking in the void, and with each step the whole world shook. Endless pressure came down from the sky, and the power of the stars suppressed the world, but it couldn't stop Gu Fei's pace. He was still walking towards Beitengyu. Bang! Gu Fei waved his fist and punched at the huge star that was descending from the sky. There was no ripple of magic power, no strange phenomenon of supernatural powers, only the purest power between heaven and earth. He struck out with the power of the origin of martial arts. This kind of power directly shattered a part of the void, shaking the great star that was suppressing down. The blood energy in Gu Fei's body surged to the skies, as though there were blood dragons circling the skies. His godly strength was boundless as he punched out again and again, causing the heavens and earth to tremble and the void to shatter. As long as the source energy of martial Tao was strong enough, it could break through all kinds of magical powers and spells. Although Gu Fei had not reached this level, he could still shake a supreme treasure refined by a supreme being. One could imagine how tough his body was. How is this possible? He's a monster! Beitengyu was incomparably shocked. The great star was actually shaken by Gu Fei. One had to know that this great star was a semi-sage tool refined by an ancestor of the Beiteng clan, and it possessed great power. With this semi-sage tool in hand, Beitengyu thought that no one in the same realm could be his opponent. Once the great star came out, any immortal god would have to retreat. Even immortal kings and god-kings of the mysterious transformation realm would have a headache after Beitengyu used this semi-sage tool. It could be said that ever since Beitengyu obtained this semi-sage tool, he had never tasted defeat. Bang! 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 Gu Fei's godly strength was inexhaustible, as if it could not be used up. Each punch was heavier than the last, causing the great star in the sky to shake again and again, even showing signs of falling. Everyone was shocked by Gu Fei's actions. No one thought that Gu Fei would use his own flesh and blood to contend against a semi-sage tool. Moreover, not only could he contend against the semi-sage tool, but he could also shake it. Roar! I will obliterate you! Beitengyu roared, her long hair draped over her shoulders. She directly sat cross-legged on the great star, and operated her mysterious technique, using all her strength to drive the great star. Ancient divine runes began to appear on the great star. Then, the ancient starry sky above the blue dome of heaven shone with an endless amount of starlight. Bang! The great star shook violently, releasing an even more powerful force of stars. The void shattered, the heaven and earth collapsed, the earth crumbled, and the entire valley was completely destroyed. The mighty force of the stars from the sky caused the ground to violently undulate like a boulder, turning a radius of a dozen li into a sandy land. Only this much? Then you can go die! Gu Fei shouted loudly. The endless power of the stars came crashing down. The destructive force almost caused his body to collapse. However, he became stronger the stronger he was. His godly strength was endless. A single punch destroyed the myriad of starlight, causing the great star in the sky to shake again and again. Want to kill me? Maybe in your next life. Beitengyu's body emitted a flame-like divine radiance. She didn't hesitate to burn her origin power to drive this semi-sage tool. Even so, it was difficult for her to release the full power of this semi-sage tool. However, although she couldn't suppress Gu Fei to death, Gu Fei wanting to kill her was like a dream. She was very confident in this semi-sage tool. Is that so? Gu Fei sneered. This level of power was indeed difficult to kill Beitengyu, but he still had a trump card. Ascend to the heavens! Gu Fei shouted. The godly power inside his body immediately followed a mysterious path, and then a powerful aura that caused people's hearts to palpitate spread out from his body. Boss is ruthless! He Tian saw this and knew that Gu Fei was finally going to use that secret technique. That little girl is dead for sure, Little Qing said. The Ascension secret technique, one of the 9 secrets of the immortal path, could instantly increase Gu Fei's strength by 5 or even 6 times. Even a profound transformation realm immortal king would be affected by it. Ha! Gu Fei roared, his battle prowess increased 5-fold, and the endless godly power hidden in his body was activated by the Ascension secret technique. He still punched upward. The violent power directly pierced through the world, and his entire right fist bloomed with endless divine light, enough to compete with the great star in the sky. High up in the sky, 2 stars seemed to appear, and the 2 stars quickly collided together. At that moment, the world suddenly became deathly silent. Everyone could not hear any sound. The world was silent. Then, a weak sound rang out, gradually becoming louder and louder. In the end, it became a world-shaking noise. The mountains really were collapsing. Rumble! The sky was falling and the earth was cracking. When the 2 stars collided, the sky shattered, the earth cracked, and the destructive power spread out in all directions. Mountains crumbled, and dust rose high into the sky. Everything within a radius of dozens of miles turned into a desert. Little Qing, He Tian, and Balon immediately rushed into the sky to avoid the terrible energy storm. As for the 2 fellows from the Zhao family, they were stunned and sent flying by the energy storm. Bang! With a muffled sound, the great star in the sky dimmed, and Gu Fei sent it flying. Beitingyu coughed up a large mouthful of blood and flew thousands of meters away. Killing you is actually that simple. Gu Fei took a step forward and directly caught up with Beitingyu, then stomped down. Bang! Beitingyu's body was immediately torn apart, and she didn't even have time to scream before her body and soul were destroyed. Chapter 813. Using one of the 9 secrets of the immortal Tao, the Heaven Ascension secret art, Gu Fei's battle prowess instantly increased by 5 times. His every move shook the entire world. Bubble! At this moment, even a mysterious transformation immortal king would have a headache facing Gu Fei. Even if Beitingyu had a supreme treasure left behind by an almighty, she wasn't a match for Gu Fei. If Beitingyu could fully unleash the power of an almighty treasure, she might be able to turn defeat into victory and reverse the situation. One had to know that treasures refined by an almighty were called quasi-sage treasures. If they were to unleash their full power, they could absolutely unleash a terrifying power equivalent to an all-out attack from an almighty. Unfortunately, Beitingyu didn't have the ability to fully unleash the power of an almighty treasure. One had to admit that Beitingyu was a peerless fairy, but Gu Fei didn't show any mercy and mercilessly killed her. The fairy fell and her body collapsed. Her immortal spirit's blood rained down from the sky. Each drop emitted a deep crimson light. This was no longer mortal blood. Only a mortal body could be reborn to become an immortal spirit. This was a pure body. Each drop of blood, each strand of hair contained immortal energy. An immortal spirit's hair could slay a peak man-rank powerhouse. The 2 weren't even on the same level. This, you guys. The 2 young cultivators of the Zhao clan were dumbfounded when they saw Gu Fei kill Beitingyu in such a ruthless manner. That was a rarely seen fairy in the world, but she actually died. The 2 Heaven Realm cultivators of the Zhao family found it hard to accept what they saw. They were Beitingyu's followers. Seeing the fairy fall in front of their eyes, they couldn't help but feel complicated emotions. Swish! After killing Beitingyu, Gu Fei walked towards the 2 Zhao clan cultivators step by step. He didn't want to let these 2 go. He wanted to kill them all. Hee hee! Boss, this treasure belongs to me now. Erebus soared into the sky and rushed towards the big star that was bobbing up and down in the sky, its light dimming. Bam! A huge yin-yang hand appeared high up in the sky. The yin-yang energy was vast, and it formed a yin-yang diagram at the center of the palm. It gave off the power of the heavens and earth, and it sucked in the great star, trying to take it away. After Beitingyu fell, that great star was still floating high in the sky and did not fall. It was extremely miraculous. It was a spirit-connected ancient treasure. Just as He Tian was putting away the almighty treasure, the two members of the Zhao family finally recovered from the shock. "What do you want?" Seeing Gu Fei approach step by step, his killing intent surging like a god of slaughter from ancient times, the two people from the Zhao clan couldn't help trembling in fear. "What else can I do?" "Of course, I'm going to send you to reunite with your sweethearts." Gu Fei's eyes flashed, and he said expressionlessly. When the two people from the Zhao family saw that little Qing, Balan, and Gu Fei had surrounded them, their faces paled. The aura exuded by Gu Fei was too powerful, and it caused the entire world to tremble. It was as if an ancient divine mountain was crushing down on them, making it hard for them to breathe. "How dare you?" "We're from the Zhao family of the desolate antiquity," one of the young men shouted. It should be known that the powers of the desolate antiquity were the true masters of the world. Whether it was in the past or now, the Zhao family, as one of the four great clans of the desolate antiquity, had the strength to rule over a region. No one dared to look down on the Zhao family, but Gu Fei was an exception. He had already formed enmity with the Dongfang family and the Beitang family, so he didn't care about the addition of the Zhao family of the desolate antiquity. "Humph!" Gu Fei sneered. He didn't say anything, but the disdain on his face made it clear that he didn't care about the two people in front of him at all. He didn't even care about the Zhao family behind them. "Don't act rashly. Let's talk this out." At this time, the two young men from the Zhao family panicked. The god of slaughter in front of them really dared to do anything. He even dared to kill a beautiful fairy like Beitang. Thinking of this, the two young men from the Zhao family couldn't help but feel their scalps go numb. Bang! Gu Fei didn't say anything else and directly pressed his palm forward. The powerful force immediately collapsed the void, and a pitch-black palm-shaped spatial crack appeared in the void. The pitch-black palm was completely formed from the collapsed void. It pressed forward, and wherever it passed, the void collapsed. The power of destruction was overwhelming. Roar! The two young men from the Zhao family roared. One of them opened his mouth and spat out a bronze bell. The sound of the bell resounded throughout the world, and the void really cracked. Visible ripples spread out in all directions with the bronze bell as the center, shattering everything. Even the clouds in the sky were dispersed. A dragon shadow rushed out of the other young man's body. It was a dragon saber, and its murderous aura soared to the sky. It looked like an evil dragon as it slashed towards Gu Fei. Little Qing and Balan didn't make a move. They just wanted to prevent the two unlucky guys from the Zhao family from escaping. Clang! The pitch-black handprint landed on the bronze bell, and the bronze bell immediately caved in. Dense cracks spread from the handprint. Ah! The Zhao family's expert suffered a great impact, and he vomited blood as he retreated. Gu Fei took a step forward and punched again. Boom! The void suddenly trembled, emitting an extremely shocking sound like the beating of a heavenly drum. The fist directly blasted the dragon-shaped broadsword that was slashing down, causing the dragon-shaped broadsword to shatter in the void. Countless fragments flew back. Clang! The bell rang, and a visible ripple spread out. All the fragments of the dragon-shaped saber that flew back fell from the sky. The bronze bell was already on the verge of collapsing, but it was still able to unleash such a powerful might, which surprised Gu Fei. However, the two young men from the Zhao family were even more shocked. That was a divine treasure refined by Shen King, who was in the celestial being realm. How could it be possible that Gu Fei could shatter it with one punch? How could his body be so strong? It was unheard of to see a divine treasure refined by Shen King, who was in the celestial being realm. The two young men from the Zhao family were shocked and could not calm down. Their opponent was too terrifying. You can go to hell! Gu Fei's cold voice sounded. He soared into the sky and directly used the 8 kill steps. The whole void trembled under his feet. When his foot fell, the world seemed to collapse, and endless power surged under his feet. Clang! With a loud sound, the bronze bell was shattered by Gu Fei's foot. The endless power of destruction, wrapped in countless fragments of the bell, swept down from the sky, and swallowed the two young men from the Zhao family. Bang! Bang! Chapter 8:14. Roar! Just as Gu Fei killed the two unlucky fellows of the Zhao family, a furious roar came from the direction of the heavenly gate, and a powerful aura surged over in an earth-shattering manner. Let's go! Gu Fei's expression immediately changed. He tossed out a white formation platform and rushed up. There was a terrifying figure rushing over at high speed. The fight here had alarmed quite a number of people, but no one had stepped forward to intervene. It was all because the heavenly gate had appeared, and everyone had rushed to the heavenly gate. However, when Gu Fei killed the two guys from the Zhao family, it had alarmed a terrifying figure, who had no choice but to come and check it out. At this time, He Tian had just collected that big star in the sky. No one competed with him, so the process was relatively smooth. Swish! 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 Little Qing, He Tian, and Balon also rushed up to the white formation platform. Then, Gu Fei activated the formation platform, and countless formation patterns appeared on it, distorting the void. The next moment, Gu Fei and the others disappeared into the void. Just as Gu Fei and the others crossed the void, a figure rushed over from the direction of the heavenly gate, and a powerful aura spread between heaven and earth. It was a middle-aged man in a gray robe. This middle-aged man was furious. He stood high in the sky, glancing in all directions, and his powerful aura made heaven and earth tremble. The ground within a radius of dozens of miles had been destroyed by the battle between Gu Fei and Beitang Yu. It had turned into a desert, and nothing was left. However, when the middle-aged man found the copper bell and the fragments of the dragon's saber on the ground, the blue veins on his forehead throbbed. Roar! He roared again and again, and his terrible roar shook the whole world. Who dares to kill the children of the Zhao family? The middle-aged man's voice resounded through the sky and earth, and even the practitioners who passed by hundreds of miles away looked in the direction of the voice in surprise. However, no one dared to go over to see what was going on. The pressure emitted by the middle-aged man was too strong. This was a celestial being, and no one wanted to provoke an enraged celestial being. That was simply courting death, and no one wanted to court death. Swoosh! The middle-aged man didn't stay for long. He turned around and left. At this moment, a thunderous sound came from the direction of Heaven's Gate. The great earth was shaking, and the heavens were trembling. There was a powerful being taking action, trying to open up the Heavenly Gate. Everyone's attention was attracted by the Heaven Gate. Divine rainbows streaked across the sky from all directions, heading towards the Heaven Gate. At this moment, no one cared about anything else. Everything else had to be put aside for the time being. Opening the door to the Heaven Realm was the top priority for all the ancient desolate powers. Immortals and mortals were separated forever. The powers of the ancient desolate era had been trapped in this world for countless years. All these years, all the powers of the ancient desolate era had been searching for a path to the heavens. The ancient desolate world, which opened once every 10,000 years, was their hope. This was also the reason why the powers of the ancient desolate era would only return to the earth once every 10,000 years. Then, they would gather all the cultivation forces on the earth and enter the ancient desolate world to search for the legendary destiny. No one knew if the ancient stone gate would really allow them to enter the heaven realm after opening it. However, it was still a hope after all. Boom! A loud sound rang out, and the entire ancient desolate world shook. It was as if an ancient giant was shaking this part of the world. Everything in the world was trembling. This was the power of a powerful being. It could shake an ancient world and shatter a part of the world. It was the most powerful existence in the world besides the extreme experts. Swoosh! 1,000 miles away, the void suddenly distorted, and a white formation platform rushed out of the distorted void. There were 4 figures standing on the platform. What's going on? Gu Fei was very surprised. This white formation platform was personally refined by He Tian. It could cross the void for 10,000 miles. However, Gu Fei could still feel the aura of a powerful being. It was really surprising that it only crossed 1,000 miles. The primeval heaven and earth have primeval laws, Erebus said. Gu Fei also found that this ancient desolate world was very stable. It was even more stable than the Hell Tao that was refined by the ancient Buddhist Lord. Even a powerful being could only shake it, but it was difficult to destroy this ancient world. It was really hard to imagine how such a world had collapsed in the past. Could it be that the extreme experts were so powerful that they could destroy the ancient desolate world? "Boss, what should we do next?" He Tian asked. He found that after crossing the void, they had arrived in the sky above a wild ancient forest. Ancient trees towered into the sky, and vines coiled around. There were also wild beasts walking in the forest. "Everyone has been attracted by the heavenly gate, so we can go explore," Gu Fei said. He had obtained a map of the ancient desolate world from the two unlucky fellows of the Zhao family. Gu Fei killed the two, but he did not forget to take what he needed from them. Little Qing, He Tian, and Balan had also obtained maps of the ancient desolate world from other people. Of course, the places recorded on these maps were only a small part of the ancient desolate world. The ancient desolate world was too vast. For millions of years, all the powers of the ancient desolate world had explored less than 1/10 of the area. Moreover, in the ancient desolate world, some ancient ruins hid great dangers. Even if immortals entered, they would die. It was regarded as a dangerous place, and people rarely went there. There were some places that even the powerful beings were unwilling to set foot in. "Explore? I like it! Ha ha!" He Tian said excitedly. In this ancient world, there were many ancient ruins. Perhaps, there might be some unimaginable gains. Therefore, Gu Fei and the others began to move. It had to be said that He Tian was really amazing. In addition to his amazing attainments in formations, he actually knew how to find dragons, observe mountains, rivers, and seas, and search for dragon veins. Finally, they arrived at the place recorded on the map where the phoenix died and the dragon died. "It's really the place where the phoenix died and the dragon died." When everyone saw the scene in front of them, they were all shocked and amazed. On the ground, there was a mountain range that stretched into the depths of this world. One could not see the end of it at a glance. It was like a huge dragon lying on the ground, but there were several large valleys that cut the dragon into several pieces. Beside the mountain ridge, there was a scarlet valley, where there was an endless amount of heat emitting from the valley. Blood mist lingered around, as though it was a blood mist that could not be dispelled. Looking down from the sky, the valley looked like a divine phoenix that had fallen to the ground. The phoenix fell to the ground, and the dragon's body was broken. This was indeed a place where the phoenix died, and the dragon died. Such a terrain was definitely a dangerous place. Chapter 8:15. Even the entire Tinglong continent had never seen a place like this before. Due to the changes in the world, this kind of terrain had long disappeared. However, during the Great Desolation era, all kinds of terrains appeared. Countless divine beings were born, and those who could awaken their intelligence were called innate gods. Phoenixes and dragons died young. This kind of terrain was an extremely dangerous place. Even powerful beings would not be willing to set foot in it. This area was the territory of the Li family of the clan of the Ancients. When this Great Desolation era was first discovered, it was a world without a master. The various powers of the clan of the Ancients began to divide the territory and occupy its resources. The Li family of the clan of the Ancients was rumored to have a great background. The Supreme Tao ancestor was surnamed Li, and the Li family and the Supreme Tao ancestor were inextricably linked. The territory of the Li family spanned thousands of miles. This was only the area that had been explored. The unknown area was still incomparably vast. "Should we go in or not?" Gu Fei pondered. Although this dangerous place could not compare to the 9 dragons fighting for the pearl, it was not insignificant either. Otherwise, the 2 things born from this place would have been taken by the Li family long ago. How could they get a chance? "Ha ha! As long as I get those 2 things, I can be reborn." He Tian was very excited. He would never retreat. "Big brother! What do you think?" Little Qing asked. Although they were standing in the distance, and did not approach the danger zone, the terrifying aura coming from the danger zone was enough to make them shudder with fear. Old He, are you confident? Gu Fei looked at He Tian and asked. If he was not confident, he would turn around and leave. He did not want to play around with his life. This kind of naturally formed dangerous place was not something that could be resisted by humans. Countless years ago, a dragon and a phoenix were born here. However, the dragon and the phoenix died prematurely before they were even born. Therefore, the evil aura here was overwhelming. The resentment of the death of the dragon and phoenix would give birth to something terrifying. Boss, this is neither difficult nor easy. However, with your help and my mastery in the art of formations, I have a 50% chance of obtaining the item inside, Erebus said. It was no coincidence that this fellow lured Gu Fei here. Do those two legendary things really exist here? Gu Fei was a little skeptical about whether those two things really existed. Definitely. He Tian patted his chest and guaranteed. Since that's the case, you should prepare what you need to do, Gu Fei said. He was not familiar with the way of formation, so he could not help in this aspect. Old Black, if you get those two things, you can regenerate your flesh and blood, but we don't seem to get any benefits. Xiaoqing was a little unwilling. Brother Qin, you can't say that. Don't you want to condense the body of a true dragon? I don't need to say more, He Tian said. Xiaoqing's eyes lit up when he heard this. All right, I don't want the things in the land of the fallen divine phoenix, but I want half of the things in the peerless dragon vein, Xiaoqing said. No problem. He Tian was very straightforward. The land of the fallen dragon vein was a peerless dragon vein. This dragon vein stretched across the land and extended into the depths of this ancient world. One could not see the end of it at a glance. This dragon vein was larger than any of the 9 dragon veins of the 9 dragons competing for the pearl in the purgatory path. It was a rare peerless dragon vein. Only such a dragon vein could give birth to a primordial celestial dragon that could contend against an innate deity. Dragon chi rose from where the dragon's severed body was. The dragon chi of the earth gushed out, and the faint roar of a dragon could be heard in the void. In the next few days, He Tian carved formation patterns on the outside of the land of the fallen phoenix and the fallen dragon vein. The formation patterns were densely packed, far more than he had ever carved before. Gradually, as the number of formation patterns increased, Gu Fei and the others realized that the power of heaven and earth had been triggered. He Tian was using the formation patterns to trigger the power of heaven and earth. He Tian had no intention of stopping. He was using the formation patterns to deduce the path of life and death in this peerless ominous land. In such a peerless ominous land, one could not afford to take a wrong step. If one were to take a wrong step, there would only be one outcome: death in body and soul. A peerless ominous land evolved from heaven and earth would be dangerous even for mighty figures. One needed to be extremely careful and prudent when entering such a place. He Tian continued to carve formation patterns on the outside of the land of the fallen phoenix and the fallen dragon vein, deducing the power of heaven and earth. The power of the formation gradually changed, triggering the power of heaven and earth. It had to be said that He Tian's attainments in the art of formations were truly astonishing. It had reached a terrifying level that could change heaven and earth. He used formation patterns to trigger, and even change the power of heaven and earth, weakening the power of the ominous land. This was definitely not an easy task. After more than 10 days, He Tian had triggered the power of heaven and earth within 1,000 miles. The power of heaven and earth was unfathomable. He Tian actually managed to deduce 3 paths of life in and out of the land of the fallen phoenix and the fallen dragon vein. The rest were all dead ends. Let's go! Without hesitation, He Tian took the lead while Gu Fei and the others followed behind. They carefully walked towards the ominous land. The moment they stepped into the land of the fallen phoenix and the fallen dragon vein, everyone seemed to hear the mournful cries of despair of the dragon and phoenix. They died before they were even born. This made the dragon and phoenix very unwilling. In the ominous land, the baleful aura soared into the sky. The undying resentment of the dragon and phoenix made people's hearts palpitate. After walking into this exceptionally ominous land, they could not even sense the aura of the powerhouses outside. After more than 10 days, the ancient heaven gate still did not seem to be opened. The powerhouses seemed to have encountered difficulties. The aura of the powerhouses spread throughout the ancient world. Gu Fei sensed that at least 3 powerhouses had appeared in the ancient world of chaos. However, Gu Fei and the others did not go and join in the fun. The powerhouses had already made their move. If they went, they would definitely not be able to interfere. Moreover, if some people found them to be an eyesore and invited the celestial realm Shen King to deal with them, it would be a tragedy. Gu Fei and the others had offended quite a lot of people. The Zhao clan of the Desolate Antiquity, the Dongfang clan, and the Beitang clan. Just a celestial being realm deity emperor from these 2 forces would be enough to make them flee. While everyone's attention was attracted by the ancient heaven gate, they came to collect the 2 legendary items. These 2 items had been nurtured in the land of the fallen phoenix and the fallen dragon vein for countless years. They were supreme treasures born from the ancient world. If they could obtain them, they would receive great benefits. Even Gu Fei was tempted by these 2 items. Kacha. Chapter 8:16. Mahakala had used the formation runes to trigger the grand momentum of the world, using the changes in the grand momentum of the world to calculate 3 paths to enter and exit the land of the phoenix perishing and dragon perishing, but Gu Fei and the others had only taken 1 path. This path led straight to the center of the land. It didn't lead to the depths of the land, nor did it lead to the belly of the peerless dragon vein. Mahakala wanted to suppress this forbidden land and weaken the power of this forbidden land infinitely. The land of death of the phoenix and the dragon vein spanned 1,000 miles, and the dragon vein was so vast that one couldn't even see the end of it. These 2 places that could give birth to a dragon and a phoenix had definitely given birth to a peerless treasure. Gu Fei's group was heading for that peerless treasure. This was a primordial treasure born from the primordial world. Even in the primordial world, it was probably one of a kind. Careful, don't go the wrong way! He Tian led the way. Each step was carefully chosen. There couldn't be the slightest mistake. One wrong step and the path of life would become a dead end. Along the way, more and more skeletons appeared on the ground. These were the people who had entered this land of death and fallen here, never to leave again. Gu Fei knew that countless cultivators had come to explore this land of death over the years. On the ground, one could occasionally see various rusted artifacts and swords. Time was merciless. As long as enough time passed, the power of time could erase everything. In the entire world, only an extreme path sacred weapon refined by an extreme path expert could exist eternally in the world and not be obliterated even after 10,000 years. After traveling for about 10 miles, Gu Fei's group realized that the skeletons on the ground were starting to change. Some of the skeletons were sparkling like divine jade. Although their clothes were still rotting and their weapons had lost their spirituality, the skeletons were still well preserved. Immortal god bones! Gu Fei's group couldn't help but be shocked. These were definitely the bones of peerless existences above the immortal king level. In this land of death, the bones of ordinary immortals would have already rotted away. Those who could find such a dangerous place were not simple. Those who dared to enter such a dangerous place definitely had great strength and confidence. Otherwise, no one would enter this place of danger, because no one would enter this place of danger even if they knew they would die. After entering 50 kilometers, Gu Fei and the others discovered that their surroundings were already filled with baleful auras. There were many lifeless creatures moving about in the mountain mist. Suddenly, Gu Fei noticed that there was a tall figure standing on a mountain peak in front of him. That figure's death chi soared into the sky, as if he was a devil that had crawled out of hell. That is, there wasn't a single person who wasn't shocked. This was an exceptional vicious land that could obliterate everything, yet that person was able to appear on the mountain peak. It was truly inconceivable. It was not a living person, but an ancient corpse. In this dangerous land, There were no living creatures, only dead spirits that appeared from time to time. They were the incarnations of peerless characters that fell in this dangerous land. Arriving at the foot of the mountain, Gu Fei's group was startled to see an ancient corpse shrouded in death qi. It was currently absorbing the essence of the sun and moon. The ancient corpse's clothes were very old, but they hadn't decayed. Instead, they were as white as new clothes with rays of light revolving around them. Divine silkworm treasure robe? He Tian was very shocked. He recognized the ancient corpse's clothes that were untainted by even a speck of dust. It was a treasure robe woven from the silkworm's silk. This kind of robe was impervious to fire and water, and to a certain degree, it could even weaken the offensive power of magical arts and divine abilities. Roar! At this time, the ancient corpse on the mountain peak also discovered Gu Fei's group. The ancient corpse roared at the sky and jumped down from the mountain peak. Gu Fei's group hastily retreated. Boom! The earth shook and dust flew everywhere. The ancient corpse fell from the sky like a meteor, directly creating a large pit on the ground. That was an ancient corpse that wore a purple golden crown on its head, divine silkworm precious clothes on its body. Perhaps it was an ancient emperor from the archaic years that fell here. Its flesh didn't decay, but after endless years, it unexpectedly became a dead spirit. Bang! 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 The ancient corpse approached Gu Fei's group step by step. Each step caused the earth to tremble. It was as if an ancient divine mountain was moving. A powerful aura covered the sky and covered the earth as it rushed towards Gu Fei's group. Everyone was shocked. This ancient corpse was definitely a great ruler when it was alive. Even if it wasn't a great existence, it was at least a celestial being realm Shen King. Moreover, it was an extremely powerful ancient king. Swoosh! Balan turned his hand, and the endless power of the divine flame instantly condensed into a divine spear. Then, Balan held the spear and pierced forward. Bang! The divine spear condensed from the divine flame collided with the ancient corpse's chest, creating a dull sound. The divine spear shattered, but the ancient corpse didn't stop and continued to press forward. No one would have thought that this ancient corpse's body would be so tough. An immortal-level great demon's attack couldn't even penetrate the ancient corpse's body. The divine silkworm treasure robe flickered and weakened the power of Baron's attack. Humph! He Tian sneered. The power of yin and yang emerged from his body. Yin and yang intertwined, and the divine diagram appeared. He merged with the diagram and flew forward. Swoosh! Wherever the yin-yang diagram passed, a crack appeared in the void. There was a trace of Tao lingering on the yin-yang diagram, mysterious and unpredictable. However, a shocking scene appeared. The yin-yang diagram slashed the ancient corpse's body. A clanging sound was heard, and the diagram was knocked away. No way! Shaoqing, Balan, and the others were dumbfounded. At this time, Gu Fei took a step forward and directly punched forward. The powerful force caused the void in front of him to collapse. Bang! A fist mark appeared on the ancient corpse's chest. It was forced back a few steps by Gu Fei's punch, then it stood still. The divine silkworm robe couldn't absorb much of the force. This treasure robe is mine! Gu Fei used the 8 desolation steps and soared into the sky. Then, he stomped down on the ancient corpse's head with a mighty force. Boom! The ancient corpse raised its hand and attacked with a vast amount of death energy. However, its lower body was still sunk into the ground by Gu Fei's stomp. Although this ancient corpse's body was powerful, it seemed to be ignorant, and didn't have much intelligence. It only attacked out of instinct. Perhaps Gu Fei's group had entered the ancient corpse's territory. Bang! Gu Fei stomped again. This time, the ancient corpse was directly stomped into the ground, leaving only its head above the ground. Clang! Chapter 8:17. Buzz! A purple light flickered and a divine sword surrounded by a purple mist floated in front of Gu Fei. It gently vibrated and emitted a joyful spiritual fluctuation. A chilling sword energy exuded from the ancient sword. It was not powerful, but it dispelled the murderous aura around it. This was a divine weapon with a soul. This type of divine weapon was the strongest divine weapon in the world, a sacred weapon of the extreme Tao. This was a supreme sacred weapon created by a master of the extreme Tao. It was imbued with the power of the grand Tao. Even though the ancient corpse's body was powerful to an abnormal degree, it couldn't withstand the violet gold divine sword's attack. There weren't many things in this world that could withstand the slashes of this sacred sword. Gu Fei grabbed the hilt of the sword. The violet gold divine sword immediately calmed down and no longer vibrated. All of its aura converged and no longer leaked out. At this moment, no one knew that the violet gold divine sword in Gu Fei's hand was a sacred weapon that could drive all cultivators crazy. Gu Fei's sword didn't damage the ancient corpse's silkworm treasure robe. Instead, he peeled off the corpse's treasure robe. This ancient corpse was decapitated by Gu Fei's sword. Black blood gushed out from its chest. Even though it had been dead for countless years, the spirituality of this ancient corpse's blood still hadn't disappeared. However, when the blood splashed onto the silkworm treasure robe, it didn't stick to it. Instead, it rolled down and dripped onto the ground. The silkworm treasure robe was impervious to water and fire. It was forever new and couldn't be stained by any filthy thing. Even dust and blood couldn't touch it. It truly lived up to its reputation. Continue forward! Gu Fei put away the treasure robe and held the sacred sword in his hand. In this extremely dangerous place, he didn't dare to be careless. With the violet gold divine sword in hand, Gu Fei was fearless. Even if an almighty being was in front of him, he would still dare to slash them. The group continued forward with He Tian still leading the way. Although they had already deduced the 3 paths of survival countless times and knew every foothold like the back of their minds, they were still incomparably nervous. This was a place where dragons and phoenixes soared. However, the dragons and phoenixes that were nurtured by heaven and earth died prematurely before they could even be born, causing this divine land to become a dangerous place. The deeper he went, the heavier the killing aura became. However, with the purple gold divine sword in Gu Fei's hand, the killing aura of heaven and earth could not get close to him. Roar! Suddenly, a roar rang out in front of them, causing the mountains to tremble. An intense baleful aura surged over from the front, and a terrifying aura of death caused people's hearts to palpitate. What is that? They immediately stopped. At this time, they had already traveled several hundred miles into this dangerous place. Along the way, everything they saw along the way was lifeless. There were a lot of bones scattered everywhere. Gu Fei noticed that not all of the skeletons belonged to humans. There were skeletons of beasts as well. When they passed by a ravine filled with flowing black water, they saw a golden-yellow skeleton of a savage beast that was as large as a hill. In the primordial world, there were incomparably powerful beasts. They were all primordial mutants that had long gone extinct in the outside world. Only in the primordial world could they be seen. Some people said that in the primordial world, there were the legendary true dragons and divine phoenixes. These were connate divine beasts that were born from heaven and earth. Even powerful existences would have to retreat and not dare to provoke them. Roar! Another earth-shattering roar rang out. An extremely powerful aura of death quickly surged over from the front. In front of them was a huge rift formed by the peerless dragon vein. Dragon-chi rose from the rift, as if there was a true dragon entrenched there. However, it was also filled with killing aura and a vast aura of death. The roar came from the Great Rift Valley. This doesn't seem to be a dead dragon. Could it be that the true dragon born from the peerless dragon vein did not die? He Tian said in shock. It's more or less dead, Shaoqing said in a deep voice. He could feel the restlessness of the true dragon chi in his body. His face turned ugly. If he could successfully obtain the origin energy of the peerless dragon vein, he might have a chance to grow into a celestial dragon. However, the dragon did not die, which added a lot of danger. Rumble. Suddenly, the ground shook. Then, where the peerless dragon vein was severed, dragon chi soared into the sky. Huge dragon shadows rushed out from the ground and danced in the sky. It was a shocking scene. Tens of thousands of dragons roared and danced in the sky. It was extremely shocking. The wind and clouds changed color, and the earth trembled. The ground cracked and the mountains crumbled. The entire land of the death of the phoenix and the death of the dragon was in chaos. It was as terrifying as the end of the world. The sudden change had caused the geography of this place to change. Almost all of Erebus's calculations had been destroyed. The path of life turned into a dead end. The power of the ominous land began to destroy Gu Fei and the others from all directions. Even the void was collapsing. At this moment, everyone's expression changed. The power of the ominous land was enough to destroy a powerful being, let alone an immortal-leveled heaven-ranked expert. Boom! An ancient cauldron appeared on Gu Fei's body and covered everyone inside. The aura of the mountain and river cauldron spread out. Rumble! The destructive power from the ominous land caused the mountain and river cauldron to shake. Everyone in the cauldron almost fell down. The powerful impact caused the blood in their bodies to rumble. Even Gu Fei's face turned pale. He was extremely shocked. A celestial artifact was indestructible. It could exist for a long time. Even the destructive power of the ominous land could not destroy it. The mountain and river cauldron had the power to suppress the mountains, rivers, lakes, and seas. Under the stimulation of the ominous land, it automatically released a powerful force. Bang! The heaven and earth shook. The destructive power coming from all directions was immediately repelled by the power of the mountain and river cauldron. The area within a few li gradually calmed down. Roar! An earth-shattering roar resounded again. Just as everyone heaved a sigh of relief, they immediately became nervous again. A huge black figure rushed out from the great rift valley in front of them. That black figure actually broke through the huge dragons and rushed towards Gu Fei and the others. Death Chi was vast and mighty. The terrifying energy ripples caused the area that had just calmed down to shake again. That is, when Gu Fei and the others saw that black figure the size of a small mountain, they were extremely shocked. It was actually a black barbaric dragon. More accurately speaking, it was a barbaric dragon that had died countless years ago and turned into a dead spirit. Its pitch-black scales were emitting a black deathly light. Its entire body was filled with death chi. No one knew what had happened in the Great Rift Valley. There was a terrifying bloody hole in the chest of this black barbaric dragon. Dragon blood was flowing out. Chapter 8:18. Boom! The prehistoric beast emperor flew above Gu Fei's group in an instant. Its huge claws came down from the sky, causing the sky to collapse. The terrifying power of death spread. The prehistoric beast emperor wanted to take the mountain and river cauldron away. Its huge claws shattered the void around the cauldron. Damn it! Although he was covered by the cauldron, Gu Fei still felt the impact. The cauldron shook violently. It was almost snatched away. Shaoqing, Heitian, and Balan were all pale. This prehistoric beast emperor was too powerful. It was definitely comparable to a celestial being. After being dead for so many years, it was still so powerful after turning into an evil spirit. When this prehistoric beast emperor was alive, even a great expert would be scared if they encountered it. This is an evil spirit that has developed intelligence. Gu Fei thought that this evil fiend was not comparable to the muddle-headed ancient corpse that had just awakened its intelligence. Gu Fei sat on the ground and activated the power of the mountain and river cauldron. Buzz! The mountain and river cauldron shook and let out a deafening sound. A visible ripple spread out from the cauldron. Bang! The huge claws on the mountain and river cauldron were immediately shaken off. The evil spirit that was the prehistoric beast emperor roared angrily. It seemed to be frightened and rushed up to the sky. The mountain and river cauldron had mountains, rivers, lakes, and seas. There were countless prehistoric beast souls on the cauldron. Each of these prehistoric beast emperor was comparable to the dead prehistoric beast emperor. Gu Fei activated the power of the mountain and river cauldron. The prehistoric beast souls appeared on the body of the cauldron. The evil spirits sensed danger from the huge beast's aura. With Gu Fei's current strength and cultivation, he could not fully utilize the power of the mountain and river cauldron. Otherwise, he would not have taken the risk to enter this dangerous place. As long as the Saint artifact was activated, he would be able to break through this place of danger and obtain the two heaven-defying treasures that had been nurtured since the primordial world. Bam! A huge claw as large as a mountain grabbed down from the sky. The fiend could see that the mountain and river cauldron was extraordinary, and wanted to snatch it away. Humph! Gu Fei sneered. The purple gold divine sword in his hand transformed into a beam of purple divine light. It rushed out and slashed at the giant claw that was coming down from the sky. Roar! The black dragon fiend roared, causing the mountains to tremble. Its giant claw retracted as fast as lightning, as if it was frightened. Swoosh! The purple sword light was like a dragon, but it still entangled the huge claw. The black dragon fiend's claw immediately fell off, and black dragon blood sprayed out like a fountain. This desolate ancient beast emperor was a terrifying existence comparable to Almighty when it was alive. Although it had fallen for countless years, the blood in its body still had spirituality, and had not dried up. The black dragon evil spirit let out an earth-shattering roar and fled, disappearing into the depths of the Forbidden Land in an instant. The purple gold divine sword made a turn in the air and flew back. At this moment, the dragon aura was surging violently. In the sky above the land of the dragon graveyard, there seemed to be tens of thousands of giant dragons circling and dancing. A destructive force rose from the ground, destroying all life in the sky and on the ground. On the mountains, some ancient corpses that had awakened their spirituality walked out and breathed the dragon aura on the mountain peaks. The dragon aura of the peerless dragon vein nourished these ancient corpses, turning them into terrifying evil creatures. Only these evil creatures and fiends could exist in this forbidden land. Because these evil creatures and fiends had all awakened their spirituality by breathing the dragon aura in this forbidden land. To a certain extent, these evil creatures and fiends were already a part of this forbidden land. Therefore, these evil creatures and fiends were not affected by the power of this forbidden land. Ancient corpses that had awakened their spirituality were all peerless figures when they were alive. They were either lords or beast emperors. These ancient corpses were extremely terrifying. If ordinary immortals or gods entered this forbidden land, just these ancient corpses alone would be enough to kill them. On the surrounding mountains, more than a dozen lifeless figures appeared one after another. Some of these figures were even huge desolate beast emperors. It was hard to imagine that so many existences comparable to Almighty's had fallen here in the past millions of years. This place was simply a graveyard for experts. Rumble! The strange activity of the peerless dragon vein lasted for 3 days and 3 nights. During this time, Gu Fei and the others didn't dare to make any moves. Gu Fei and the others weren't in any life-threatening danger under the cover of the mountain and river cauldron. However, ancient corpses would occasionally appear around the cauldron. The black dragon evil spirit that had one of its claws severed by Gu Fei's purple gold divine sword seemed to have learned its lesson, so it didn't appear again. After 3 days and 3 nights, the land of the dragon damage gradually calmed down. The tens of thousands of dragon shadows in the sky had disappeared. After this huge change, the terrain of the land of the dragon damage had changed. Although it couldn't be said that it had completely changed, it was more than half of it. The path of survival that He Tian had calculated using the grand trend of the world had also changed. The path of survival had become a dead end, and they could no longer proceed according to their original plan. Therefore, after this forbidden land had completely calmed down, He Tian had no choice but to calculate the grand trend of the world again. How troublesome! Shaoqing, Balan, and the others frowned. Did they have to calculate for another dozen days? They were trapped in the land of the dragon damage. Even at this time, Gu Fei's expression was still calm. He had the realm gate, and could use it to enter the Hell Dao at any time. Therefore, there was no place in this world that could trap him. Although he had refined the origin source of the Hell Dao, he still didn't have the cultivation and strength to refine the Hell Dao into his body. However, he could use the Realm Gate to enter the Hell Dao. However, Gu Fei didn't want to return to the western region. If he entered the Hell Dao, he could only leave through the only exit that led to the outside world. This was not something that Gu Fei wanted to see. This time, the calculation didn't take up too much time. He Tian spent a total of 7 days carving countless formation patterns in the area covered by the mountain and river cauldron. Only then did he calculate a path of survival that led to the place where the dragon and phoenix met. The dragon and phoenix were like yin and yang. In the central area of the land of the dragon damage and phoenix damage, there was a treasured cave where the dragon and phoenix brought prosperity. Legend had it that as long as one died and was buried in that cave, they would be able to come back to life. As long as they could reach this place where the dragon and phoenix met, they would be able to isolate the power of the dragon and phoenix and break the structure of the world. Then, they would be able to reduce the power of this forbidden land to its lowest level and infinitely weaken the terrifying grand trend of the world formed in this area. Chapter 8:19. With the mountain and river cauldron above his head and the violet gold sword in his hand, Gu Fei was like a celestial emperor descending to the mortal realm. He led the way as the aura of the extreme Tao Saint artifact filled the air. The evil creatures and evil spirits that had fallen in this place didn't dare to approach and only lingered in the distance. Roar! A two-headed tiger king that seemed to be cast from gold roared as it charged out from the forest nearby, bringing with it a boundless baleful aura. Whoosh! A gale blew in the sky as a giant bird surging with a vast deathly aura flew over everyone's heads like a black cloud, blocking out the sky. These primordial mutants were incomparably powerful when they were alive, but they all fell in this dangerous place and turned into terrifying fiends. However, these fiends seemed to be afraid of the aura of the extreme Tao Saint artifact and didn't attack Gu Fei's group. Buzz! The mountain and river cauldron lightly vibrated. Primordial chaos energy descended from above and enveloped everyone within, repelling the surrounding deathly aura. He Tian had calculated a path to the place where the dragon and phoenix met. However, it was still filled with danger. If they weren't careful, they would still be devoured by this place. That's... Suddenly, Gu Fei stopped. What's wrong? Xiaoqing and the others behind Gu Fei couldn't help but be startled. Their nerves were stretched taut. If there was even the slightest movement, they would immediately be like vicious beasts about to attack. There's someone over there. He Tian's voice trembled as he pointed ahead. They saw a figure standing on top of a mountain a few miles away. His blood-red eyes emitted a terrifying evil light as he swept his gaze over them. Everyone discovered that this person was standing on the path that they had to pass. That person was blocking their path forward. Is he coming for us? Xiaoqing's expression changed. Everything here was too evil and couldn't be imagined with common sense. Who cares? If gods block us, we'll kill gods. If Buddhas block us, we'll destroy Buddhas. No one can block our path forward, He Tian said heroically. TCH. Then go and kill that guy, Xiaoqing said in disdain. If it wasn't for the fact that Gu Fei was here, the strange movement of the dragon vein would have taken everyone's lives. The land of death of the phoenix and death of the dragon was simply too frightening. The terrain could actually be changed. Even a formation grandmaster who was proficient in formations would only end up dead if he stepped into this land of death. This? He Tian immediately fell silent. He did not have the ability to do so. The person on the mountain peak in front of him was not someone he could deal with. That guy disappeared, suddenly Balan said aloud. Everyone looked over, and sure enough, the terrifying figure on the mountain peak had disappeared. Everyone couldn't help feeling a bit uneasy. Go! Gu Fei said and then continued forward. Above his head was the mountain and river cauldron, and in his hand was the purple gold divine sword. At this time, he could go anywhere in the world. Xiaoqing, He Tian, and Balan carefully followed behind Gu Fei. Their nerves were tense, and they were extremely nervous. In this place, no one could calm down. A large star flashed in Hation's skull. That was the holy weapon of Beitang Yu that he had collected. That half-holy weapon was really refined from a star. Only the Almighties of ancient times could have the supreme divine ability to pluck the stars and capture the moon. They actually refined a star into a supreme treasure. The divine weapon refined by the Almighties was not ordinary. In terms of power, it was only second to the holy weapon of extreme path. It could be said to be the most powerful divine weapon in the world. The holy weapons of extreme path had existed for tens of thousands of years, but their numbers were very few. On the other hand, there were many half-holy weapons refined by the Almighties. Even if the ancient desolate factions did not have holy weapons of extreme path, they definitely had half-holy weapons refined by the Almighties. This was already a consensus in the cultivation world. One must know that every ancient desolate faction that had existed until now had Almighties. It was said that many ancient desolate factions still had Almighties presiding over them. How could these ancient desolate factions not have half-holy weapons refined by Almighties? Very soon, Gu Fei and the others arrived at the foot of the mountain peak. This was already very close to the place where the dragon and phoenix intersected. The baleful aura here was so heavy that it made people's hearts palpitate. There were many bones scattered on the ground. Those who could make it here were definitely peerless characters with few opponents in the world. However, they all died here. This was a peerless place formed by heaven and earth. It was incomparably terrifying. Even the divine bones left behind by immortals would be destroyed. The terrifying existence they saw just now did not appear, but no one dared to be careless. That was definitely a terrifying existence. The Black Mountain was like an endless wall, blocking the way forward. Halfway up the mountain, there was an ancient cave, the inside of which was pitch black. There, a pair of golden eyes flashed, especially terrifying in the darkness. It was like a god from hell, filled with boundless killing intent. What is this? Gu Fei and the others were startled. They couldn't help but stop. They could feel danger. The killing intent surged like a tidal wave, drowning the group. In particular, the pair of eyes in the darkness was staring straight at Gu Fei. Boom! Boundless divine flames suddenly rushed out from the pitch-black cave, annihilating everything. Gu Fei and the others were instantly enveloped by the divine flames. A divine bird that looked like a fire phoenix walked out from the ancient cave. A divine phoenix? This time, everyone was stunned. It's not a divine phoenix! Gu Fei stared at the divine bird that walked out from the cave and said in a deep voice. The mountain and river cauldron vibrated vigorously. Primordial chaos Qi poured down, blocking the divine flames from all directions. Crap! The demonic star is falling, destroying the heavens and earth. The martial progenitor remnant soul in Gu Fei's body turned pale. Not enough, I'm not strong enough. What should I do? The Tai Chi Yin and Yang diagram hovered above his head. Boundless Yin and Yang energy poured down from above and rapidly modified Gu Fei's flesh, refining it with a tremendous divine force. However, it was far from enough. Power, power, I need power! The martial progenitor remnant soul screamed. The boundless divine force pouring down from the Yin and Yang diagram was absorbed into his body. Gu Fei's flesh continued to transform. His entire body emitted a Yin and Yang divine light. His flesh, blood, tendons, and bones were cleansed of all impurities as if they were divinized. It was as if his entire body was forged with godly metal. He was only one step away from achieving the supreme martial physique. The demonic blood star descended from the sky, emitting a boundless demonic light that dyed the heavens and earth red. Under the illumination of the demonic light, the life force of everything in the heavens and earth was rapidly drained, devoured by the terrifying demonic force. The heavens and earth trembled as the demonic aura surged. Everyone felt fear from the depths of their souls shrouding their hearts. As the demonic star shone in the sky, the countless demonic soldiers seemed to have been injected with boundless power, becoming even more frenzied, vicious, and brutal. Chapter 8:20 The 5 colored feathers of the 3-legged divine bird? Erebus stretched out his hand and grabbed all the 5 colored feathers that were shrouded in fiery aura that were falling from the sky. This is also a rare treasure in this world! Gu Fei couldn't help but exclaim. This Haitian was really a reckless guy who wouldn't let go of any treasure. Humph! The 5 colored feathers here are enough to refine a 5 elements divine fire fan. Haitian was very happy. The 3-legged divine fire bird was born from the phoenix chi. Although it was worlds apart from the divine phoenix, it was still a creature born from heaven and earth. The 3-legged bird's feathers contained the essence of the 5 elements. The 5 elements divine flame fan refined from the 3-legged bird's feathers was shockingly powerful. With each fan, a part of the world would turn into a sea of fire. The 5 elements divine fire fan was the nemesis of all evil and evil things in the world. It could be said that it had endless uses. Haitian put away the 5-colored feathers of the 3-legged divine fire fan and stared at the black mountain where the 3-legged divine fire fan was. Old Hay, it's not good to be too greedy, Gu Fei said. This guy was eyeing the 9 heaven star iron again. This iron mountain was much more precious than the feathers of the 3-legged divine fire fan. Even in ancient times, it was difficult to find a second mountain that was formed by the 9 heaven star iron. The 9 heaven star iron was a rare divine iron used to refine supreme sacred weapons. It could exist eternally between heaven and earth, and would never decay. Ordinary weapons only needed a little bit of the 9 heaven star iron to become peerless divine weapons. Buzz! The mountain river cauldron vibrated. The cauldron floating above Gu Fei's head emitted a powerful suction force that sucked the entire mountain into the cauldron. Even a fist-sized piece of the 9 heaven star iron was as heavy as a mountain. In front of Gu Fei's group was an entire mountain made from the 9 heaven star iron. No one could move a mountain like this, unless it was an almighty or an existence like an extreme-grade powerhouse who took action and used supreme divine powers to take it away. The mountain river cauldron could not only suppress the mountains, rivers, lakes, and seas of the earth, but it could also absorb the power of heaven and earth. The inside of the mountain river cauldron was a real world that could contain anything. Seeing that Gu Fei had taken away the mountain, Haitian did not have any objections even though he was extremely jealous. If it was not for Gu Fei, how could he have been able to enter such a dangerous place? After keeping the mountain, Gu Fei continued forward. Even the terrifying creature born from the place where the dragon and phoenix met wasn't a match for Gu Fei, causing everyone's confidence to soar. However, that 3-legged bird wasn't killed by Gu Fei. Moreover, there was a terrifying existence spying on them from the shadows. This caused Gu Fei and the others to feel a trace of unease. The figure that disappeared on the mountain peak was probably even more powerful than the 3-legged bird. No one dared to lower their guard just because they had extreme saint weapons. Hum! The mountain river cauldron floated above Gu Fei's head and vibrated lightly. On top of the ancient cauldron, there was primordial chaos chi that descended, repelling the surrounding evil chi. The fact that the 3-legged bird didn't die under his sword greatly exceeded Gu Fei's expectations. One should know that it was an extreme saint weapon. As long as it could display the power of the extreme grade in this world, unless it was an extreme grade powerhouse, no one would be able to contend against it. The group continued forward and the terrain in front of them gradually rose. When they reached the top of a mountain, suddenly, a gust of spiritual chi hit them in the face. At the top of the mountain, there was actually a small lake. This is... Haitian observed the surrounding terrain and exclaimed repeatedly. They had finally reached their destination, but no one expected that the place where the dragon and phoenix's spiritual chi converged was actually a small lake. Spiritual chi lingered on the surface of the lake, and faint roars of dragons and cries of phoenixes could be heard. Spiritual mist floated in the air, sometimes in the shape of dragons and sometimes in the shape of phoenixes. It was as if a dragon and a phoenix were circling and dancing on the surface of the lake. The cries of dragons and phoenixes are too wonderful for words. Everyone was stunned by the scene before them. The dragon and phoenix's spiritual chi had converged here, causing the small lake to be filled with vitality and endless spiritual chi. The lakeside was verdant and lush with vegetation. There were a few stalks of godly medicine that had been growing by the lakeside for who knows how long. On top of each stalk of godly medicine hung over a dozen fruits. These fruits were very strange. Some of them were shaped like dragons, as if they were crouching dragons crawling on the small tree, while others were like 5-colored phoenixes soaring in the sky. The dragon phoenix fruit? Tian could not help but exclaim when he saw the fruits on the small tree. The dragon's spiritual chi and the phoenix's spiritual chi have converged to give birth to this legendary godly medicine. Gu Fei was also extremely shocked. This was a legendary and peerless godly medicine. Regardless of whether it was in the Chaos Era or the current era, it was extremely rare to see one. Although the other stalks of godly medicine could not compare to the dragon phoenix fruit, they were still rare godly medicines. If any of them were to be brought to the outside world, it would definitely cause a huge commotion, or even bloodshed. A small lake like this was likely even more precious than the divine spring of life. The small lake was like the origin of life, where the dragon's spiritual chi and the phoenix's spiritual chi converged and interwove to form the great Tao. It was indescribably wonderful. They had originally thought that it would be a treasure cave, but it turned out to be a small lake instead. However, according to Tian's calculations, there should be a treasure cave overflowing with dragon's spiritual chi and phoenix's spiritual chi at the center of the small lake. The treasure cave was connected to the place of death of the phoenix and the place of death of the dragon. As long as they could temporarily suppress the treasure cave, preventing the dragon's spiritual chi and phoenix's spiritual chi from converging and interweaving to form the great Tao, the power of the entire place would be infinitely weakened. Gu Fei and the others were not in a hurry to pluck the dragon phoenix fruit. As long as they could suppress the treasure cave, not only would they be able to obtain the dragon phoenix fruit, but they would also be able to obtain the place of death of the phoenix and the place of death of the dragon. "Let's begin," Gu Fei said in a low voice. At this moment, he was also a little excited. He was about to obtain the legendary items. With those 2 items, not only would Erebus be able to regenerate his flesh and blood, but everyone present would also benefit greatly from it. The peerless dragon vein, where the dragon's spiritual chi converged, was a place of extreme yin. The place of death of the 9 heavens divine phoenix was a place of extreme yang. The dragon's spiritual chi and phoenix's spiritual chi interweaved with the great Tao of yin and yang. This was a perfect and flawless location between the heavens and earth. It could have nurtured the phoenix and the true dragon, but unfortunately, something had happened in the end. The dragon and the phoenix could not be born and had died prematurely. Although the small lake in front of them was calm, things would always move in the opposite direction when pushed to the extreme. There must be a great danger, so Gu Fei and the others did not dare to enter the water recklessly. Wah! Suddenly, the sound of water could be heard from the lake. A huge black figure appeared in the lake for a moment before disappearing. Gu Fei and the others were instantly shocked. Could it be that another living creature had been born from the place where the dragon's spiritual chi and phoenix's spiritual chi interweaved? They felt a little uneasy. The thing in the lake did not rush out. Instead, it disappeared. "Let's do it," Gu Fei said in a low voice. So what if there was something in the lake? At this point, they could no longer retreat. Chapter 821. The lake formed by the convergence of the dragon essence and phoenix chi had given birth to unknown creatures. Although it was a peerless treasure ground that evolved the great Tao of heaven and earth, it was also extremely dangerous. When things reached an extreme, they would move in the opposite direction. This was also the truth of heaven and earth. A peerless treasure ground would definitely be accompanied by a peerless dangerous ground. The two would coexist. Tian made his move. He began to carve array runes by the lakeside and activated the power of heaven and earth. However, it was impossible to rely on the power of the array to control this cave. He had to use the divine weapon of the Great Path. Buzz! The mountain and river cauldron that floated above Gu Fei's head vibrated. Chaotic primordial chi descended and enveloped everyone. Even though they were at the place where the dragon essence and phoenix chi converged, they still did not dare to be careless. The powerful creatures hiding in the dark were all waiting for the best opportunity to attack. The three-legged bird, the unknown creature in the lake, and the terrifying figure they saw on the way here were all threats. If they were not careful, they could die here. If that was really the case, then they would be too unlucky. Rumble! As the array runes activated the power of heaven and earth, the entire lake gradually began to boil. The dragon essence and phoenix chi surged. The dragon chi of the earth and the power of the 9 heavens phoenix intertwined. Gradually, the lake in front of them underwent a shocking change. Gu Fei looked at everything in front of him in shock. On the right side of the lake, the dragon chi shot into the sky. Beams of dragon chi rushed out of the lake like huge dragons and hovered in the sky. On the left side of the lake water seemed to be on fire. Pure yang chi surged and there seemed to be divine phoenixes appearing in the lake. It was extremely shocking. The dragon chi of the earth and the power of the 9 heavens phoenix formed a yin-yang diagram in the lake. It seemed to be evolving a world and emitted the aura of the great Tao of heaven and earth. In the end, the entire lake was boiling. The earth was shaking and the sky was trembling. Beams of dragon chi rushed out of the ground, connecting the sky and the earth. It was extremely terrifying. The divine phoenix flew in the lake as if it wanted to soar into the sky. However, it seemed to be bound by something and could not leave the lake and soar into the sky. Roar! Just then, a huge figure rushed out of the lake. Only then did everyone see that it was a purple flood dragon. The flood dragon's body was only 300 meters long, but there were dragon horns on its head that only dragons had. The purple scales on its body flowed with purple divine light, and its killing intent soared into the sky. This was an evil flood dragon, not a benevolent one. Moreover, it was a purple flood dragon king that was about to transform into a dragon. It was incomparably powerful, comparable to a great figure. Boom! At the same time, the surface of the lake on the left suddenly exploded, and the cry of a bird resounded through the 9 heavens. A divine bird surrounded by 5-colored divine flames rushed out of the lake. That divine bird was the 3-legged fire bird that had been severely injured by Gu Fei earlier. However, at this moment, the fire bird seemed to have completely recovered as if it had never been injured. It was extremely ferocious. This is... Everyone at the lakeside was shocked to the extreme. The 3-legged fire bird and the purple flood dragon king were creatures born from the dragon essence and phoenix chi. The dragons and phoenixes born from the heavens and earth had died prematurely. It was impossible to give birth to a connate divine beast that was comparable to a connate god. When the heavens and earth were born, yin and yang gave birth to all things, and the essence of the heavens and earth gathered in one place. After a long time, powerful connate beings could be born. However, there was only one such opportunity. In the land where the phoenix died and the dragon died, it was absolutely impossible for the dragon and phoenix to be born again after the dragon and phoenix that were nurtured by the world died prematurely. However, after countless years, the place where the dragon essence and phoenix chi met gave birth to 2 connate beings. It was not a dragon or a phoenix, but a 3-legged fire bird and the purple flood dragon king. Roar! The purple flood dragon king was like a purple divine dragon. After it rushed out of the lake, it made a turn in the air and rushed towards Gu Fei's group with a terrifying killing intent. Croak! The 3-legged fire bird screeched to the sky and activated the endless power of the phoenix in the lake on the left. Divine flames rose to the sky as it flew towards Gu Fei. Hurry up! Shaoqing urged. At this time, He Tian still had not finished carving the runes, but the 2 beasts were already charging towards them. Everyone's expression changed. These were connate beasts that were comparable to mighty figures. They were extremely powerful. Even if a mighty figure were to come, they would have a headache when facing these 2 beasts. Damn it! The cauldron of mountain and river descended from above. Gu Fei extended his right hand and held onto the cauldron of mountain and river. Then, he activated his mysterious art, and the divine energy in his body surged towards the cauldron of mountain and river. Hum! The cauldron of mountain and river let out a loud hum. The entire space suddenly twisted and a circle of transparent ripples spread from the cauldron of mountain and river. Bam! Bam! The purple flood dragon king and the three-legged fire bird immediately felt a great impact. They were sent flying by the powerful force from the cauldron of mountain and river. Whoosh! Gu Fei waved his left hand and the purple gold divine sword immediately shot out a ray of light that was thousands of feet long. The domineering sword chi rippled in the air. The void was split by the sword. The ray of light shot towards the three-legged fire bird and the purple flood dragon king. It broke through the layers of mystical fire and the dragon chi of the earth. The dragon-shaped essence chi that emerged from the earth was cut in half. The aura of the extreme Tao Saint artifact emanated from the lakeside, shaking the heavens and earth. Even the two connate beasts that were nurtured by the heavens and earth felt threatened. Roar! The purple flood dragon king roared. On the right side of the lake, a vast and mighty draconic energy rushed into the sky. It was drawn on by the purple flood dragon king. The draconic energy was like a huge dragon as it rushed out of the lake to meet the destructive sword light. Boom! At the same time, a towering mystical fire rushed out of the lake on the left. Within the mystical fire, there seemed to be countless phoenixes that rushed towards the brilliant ray of light from the purple gold divine sword. These two connate beasts were born from the place where the dragon chi and phoenix chi intersected. It was not surprising that they could use the power of this peerless treasure land for their own use. The ray of light that struck the lake dimmed and finally disappeared. Gu Fei attacked with all his might. His divine power was almost drained by the mountain and river cauldron and the purple gold divine sword. He felt like he was about to collapse. All right. It's done! Just as Gu Fei forced back the two mighty connate beasts, He Tian suddenly yelled and jumped up from the ground. Whoosh! 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 Countless runes appeared on the ground around the small lake. Divine light flickered, drawing in the power of heaven and earth. Rays of divine light rushed out from the runes, interweaving into an inescapable net that enveloped the entire lake. Rumble! The dragon chi in the lake soared into the sky. The mystical fire surged and the entire array shook. The net formed by the divine light dimmed and showed signs of collapsing. The power of heaven and earth drawn by the array could not suppress the peerless treasure cave in the lake. Chapter 822. The cauldron of mountain and river resonated with the divine formation He Tian had set up by the lake. Like an ancient mountain descending from the sky, it pressed down on the dragon and phoenix cave in the center of the lake. Rumble! The world shook. The cauldron of mountain and river activated the divine formation. Rays of divine light rushed out from the formation and connected with the cauldron of mountain and river. The power of the inescapable net instantly increased by many times. Roar! The purple flood dragon king was roaring. It was crashing into the inescapable net formed by the interweaving divine light. The entire divine formation was trembling, and the lake water rushed high into the sky. Dragon energy rushed out from the cave. On the right side of the lake, there seemed to be tens of thousands of dragons soaring, terrifying to the extreme. Croak! Bird cries pierced the sky. The three-legged fire bird summoned the power of the phoenix and soared into the sky, wanting to rush out. However, the cauldron of mountain and river descended and directly suppressed the bird. An extreme saint weapon could display a terrifying power that could destroy the world. Moreover, the cauldron of mountain and river contained primordial chaos energy. Just a sliver of it was as heavy as an ancient mountain. It could crush a mountain range and suppress the world. It didn't matter if it was a primordial beast born from the convergence of dragon essence and phoenix energy. Even if it was a true divine dragon or phoenix, it would still be suppressed. The cauldron of mountain and river descended. Endless divine light wove into an inescapable net that covered all four directions. It also fell from the sky, trapping the purple drake king and the three-legged fire bird in the lake. The place where dragon essence and phoenix energy converged was indescribably wondrous. It evolved into the great Tao and could give birth to peerless beasts. However, at this time, this place was being suppressed. The cauldron of mountain and river suppressed the world, displaying its supreme power. It could actually suppress this cave where dragon essence and phoenix energy converged. This was truly shocking. Success? Shaoqing saw this and murmured. Soon! Erebus was so excited that his voice began to tremble. As long as he could suppress this peerless cave, it would be difficult for the dragon essence and phoenix chi to gather together, and the power of the phoenix perishing and dragon dying lands would be greatly weakened. After all, the convergence of dragon essence and phoenix chi was capable of developing the truths of the Grand Tao, and it raised the might of the heavens and the earth and this peerlessly dangerous place to an unimaginable state. It was capable of obliterating all living beings that entered this place of danger. It could be said that even if an almighty walked into this place, he would be in danger of dying. Otherwise, the two things that were nurtured in this place would have been taken away by someone long ago. How could Gu Fei and the others even have a chance? In this world, there were still almighty existences. The countless runes that He Tian had set up by the lakeside attracted an endless amount of heaven and earth energy, which all gathered towards the mountain river cauldron in the center of the array. Buzz! The cauldron of mountain and river was vibrating. The aura and pressure emitted by the cauldron of mountain and river was getting stronger and stronger. It seemed to be endless, causing people's hearts to tremble. Roar! Gua! The purple flood dragon king and the three-legged flame bird were howling in grief. At this time, the water in the small lake began to gradually recede. The dragon essence and phoenix chi gushing out from the dragon and phoenix treasured acupoints were also gradually weakening. Roar! 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 Terrifying roars came from everywhere in the peerless danger ground. An endless amount of death chi was vast and mighty. It was as if there was a terrifying devil roaring, causing people's hearts to palpitate. The evil spirits of the peerless characters who had fallen in the land of the phoenix death and the dragon death became restless. Their roars and roars were enough to make one's hair stand on end. Terrifying figures that were filled with death chi began to appear in the peerless danger ground. They were like evil spirits that had crawled out from hell, wandering in the peerless danger ground. Rumble! The entire peerless danger ground started to shake. The peerless dragon veins seemed to be flipping. The place of death of the phoenix emitted a sky-high fiery light, as if a phoenix was being reborn from the fire. The wind and clouds changed color. The sun and moon dimmed. The heaven and earth shook. Gu Fei and the others could clearly feel that the terrifying aura of the peerless danger ground was weakening. As the power of the peerless danger ground weakened, the divine array that He Tian had set up became more and more powerful. The power of heaven and earth in this part of the world was being activated. Rays of spiritual chi gathered from all directions and entered the mountain and river cauldron that was descending. The mountain and river cauldron started to show its extreme power. This was the power of the divine array that gathered the endless power of heaven and earth, causing the mountain and river cauldron to display its extreme power. Buzz! The mountain and river cauldron shook. The entire world seemed to be collapsing. A terrifying power descended from the sky. Bang! Bang! The purple serpent king and the three-legged fire bird were suppressed into the lake, unable to rush out again. The lake water quickly receded, revealing the bottom of the lake. There was no silt at the bottom of the lake. Instead, there were pieces of dragon crystals and fire phoenix divine jades that contained dragon essence and phoenix chi. On the right side of the lake, dragon chi gathered. The bottom of the lake shone brightly, as if there were thousands of stars twinkling. Those were pieces of dragon crystals. On the left side of the lake, fire chi was boiling. Pieces of scarlet fire phoenix divine jades were scattered at the bottom of the lake. There were so many of them that no one knew how many there were. This was a rare divine object formed by the condensation of dragon essence and phoenix chi over countless years. Dragon crystal and fire phoenix divine jade were divine objects that cultivators yearned for even in their dreams. In the outside world, even a small piece of dragon crystal and fire phoenix divine jade was rare, let alone so many of them. If it wasn't for the divine array, Haitian would have already jumped into the lake to collect the dragon crystals and fire phoenix divine jades. Divine items! Haitian was extremely excited. Even if he couldn't get the 2 legendary items, it would be worth it to collect all the dragon crystals and fire phoenix divine jades. Who is it? Suddenly, Gu-Fei shouted angrily. He raised his hand and slashed his sword to the side. A dazzling purple sword light soared thousands of feet and slashed at a figure in front of him. Everyone was shocked. They didn't know when someone had come nearby, but they didn't notice. If that person suddenly attacked them, the consequences would be unimaginable. The figure silently retreated and dodged. He seemed to be very wary of the purple gold divine sword light. There was no aura of life on the person's body. It seemed to be a corpse. The sword light dispersed the mist by the lake, and a middle-aged man with blood-red pupils appeared. "It's him!" Haitian exclaimed. The middle-aged man was the terrifying figure that they had seen on the mountain peak formed by the 9 heaven star iron. At this moment, everyone saw the person clearly. It was a middle-aged man wearing black divine armor. The middle-aged man's divine armor was already showing signs of decay. He was an ancient person. Everyone was astonished. Even the divine armor had decayed, yet this person's physical body was still imperishable. This was definitely the corpse of an ancient divine being that had died countless years ago. It had gained sentience after death, and a new intelligence had been born. You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.